Yo! Yes, sir, boy. I'll be fired up for the last running of the day. As per usual. A lot of fun playing that lately. We're gonna switch back to the PC version because I was looking at some stuff with the PS5 or PS4 remake. And although I do appreciate some of the changes that were added, I absolutely dislike some of the stuff I read recently that was changed about the game. So we're gonna take it back to the original PC release. I'm still gonna call this the definitive version because of some of the stuff that's in there. I'm gonna enjoy it. So here we go. Strap yourselves in, boys. Also, the wonderful Last Remnant training is available on PC, and you just can't do that on console, man. Oh, good. Look at that. Look at that. Last time I played this game, still got my settings from before. I was still playing this on my old PC. And extremely with a different setup. Sharing the same screen. Holy crap. I still got it set for playing. And this is stupid resolution. Oh my god. Like, bro, you can be bored of this, bro. Actually, you can be this screen. So let's do full screen. There we go, baby. High quality. Maximum 60. Yeah. You know, Japanese voices. Actually, not. Alright, so we're gonna restart the game. Get back into it. No, I will say, whoever played the PlayStation 4 release, it is fun. That game is. Oh, wow. Okay. And my settings are there with my save point. Nuts. Brighten it up a little bit. Set out on the course. Turn the volume down a little bit. Channel move speed. You can move it up a little bit. I'll follow. Yep. Okay. Elevation on. Auto saves on. Let's go. Wait. Don't call. Now, this ain't gonna be no plea. You skip it. You don't need to see all that shit. Trying to catch it to I get the ball. You can just play everything by ear.
We shall stop them here!
Oh. It's still beautiful, even on Unreal 3.
We should strike at
High
their flank.
fucking 7. I didn't see this. These symptoms okay? We're gonna do a screen time now. That's oh, I don't like it. Yeah, settings were good. Also, so used to playing the third one, but I forgot this game by playing with all that off. The battles go so slow. Oh. Come on. She's so many cutscenes. So many cutscenes at the beginning. Yeah, that's a mini yet. Hey! Jeez. Yes, I'll return to the title screen real quick. I gotta see a bit of these things. Yeah, thanks. Sure. Since quality, primary. Yeah, look that up. See that setting. Okay, so that's alright. That's fine. I have a video. So let's see. Video control panel. That's on. And where is BC? On. Alright. Okay, there we go. Let's force it with a video. I think this game has too much looking out. Maybe not. Fourth one. Fucking decent. Alright, now. First thing I'm gonna do. System else for that. That's class. What else for 90?
Let's do this.
Okay.
Come on, let's kick some ass. You okay?
Tie it together.
Okay. Author. Longsword. Whoa! That thing's fucking strong. Tuck. Tuck is also strong. Crack. Shamshir. Silver sword. Jesus. Almost tap. Savannah specific. Okay. Huh. Fellas. Time. Katana. Scimitar. Kazi, okay. Further. Out. Should I go Google? Myself, but you know, but you know what? Actually, oh, I think I'm food. I think Sir, oh my goodness, look at that Chick-fil-A sandwich. Mm. Mm. Don't go.
Come on, let's kick some ass. Ha! Don't let bullies like you get in my way.
Ooh, that's weird. I clearly have 2 weapons on him. But okay.
Impressive, huh?
Clearly have 2 weapons on this man. But okay. I guess it makes sense. I didn't have him set on Google. Ah. Emma has led the party. Oh, cool. But I don't like games over.
Let's do this! Hit him hard, hit him fast! It's you and me then! Show those who drive that hurt! Let's do this! Let's do this! Come on, let's kick some A! Take this! Let's do this! Let's do this!
Oh, there we go. We're opponent.
It's you and me then! Ow. Smash him from the side! Let's do this!
Oh, I'll finish listening to this podcast.
Hit him hard, hit him fast!
Thank you, Gabriel. Appreciate it.
I mean, look, first of all, like Christy said, he said it every time. Want him to start at the top and then there's nowhere to go. Where you gonna go down?
It's
Right?
you and me!
You gotta
Show
show
those
those the fucking best thing about watching this show.
how you like that!
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same thing. I'm sure Adam, Adam wanted this is I'm pretty sure you can afford to stay within some printing teams storyline. But at the same time, this was not a terrible choice. You don't want to start off, at the top of the start. There's nothing wrong with starting off with what they want to start off with Printing Cage. What do they want? And then let's start showing some appreciation for the source too. He's a very big man, one of the few big men that AEW has actually booked decently. So let's give him some credit there.
Let's do this!
But everybody wants everything for free. Yeah, they want it now, damn it. I'm
The winner's the one who strikes first,
that
yeah?
it does not matter who on that roster they put Adam and Green with
Come
first.
on, let's kick
Some
some
of them
A!
Well, yeah, and it's also the thing that I've seen about AEW's collision attendance and all this other stuff, where people are taking pictures and stuff like that. SmackDown have this problem. Raw have this problem. It's part of the ebbs and flows of business. Realistically, there's a lot of money right now tied up in media rights. Why do you think WWE stacked the deck with NXT? Because they want to show you that even though if they have good competition on Tuesday, we can try to have fun, blow the ratings out of the water. So, I mean, it's ebbs and flows. And listen, NXT is going to beat AEW in the ranks. Am I going to lose sleep over? Is Drew going to lose sleep over? Is Jesse going to lose sleep over? No, I don't give a shit, man. You know what? You are the one because they want NXT, or they enjoy it or not, and we enjoy Dynamite. That's all that is. You know what I'm going to do tomorrow? Watch ratings now. We're going to do TNT. I'm going to have a glass of Pinot Noir and a nice T-bone steak, and I'm going to go to bed. Because I'm not buying the media rights.
Be careful! I
don't care. Somebody said, well, we'll see when the ratings come out. I'm like, I don't watch ratings. I watch wrestling. I like that.
You should make that a t-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, if AEW is winning in the ratings, great for them. If WWE is winning in the ratings, I mean, the same thing, great for them. I'm gonna watch what I enjoy. I'm done watching AEW because the ratings are higher over there. So, I don't care where the ratings lie. I'm gonna watch the show that I prefer. And I wish people would take that into account and stop trying to come up with a winner.
And small minority people. They don't really matter. Their opinions don't really matter. They haven't seen sunlight in fucking weeks. So AEW's in the bud. Look at the attendance now.
You're talking about a billionaire. A billionaire.
But he drinking Rex Apoleo like this jerk. What are you drinking there?
Oh, God.
Big beer. You don't? You hang out with JD and drink beer?
I think this is totally beer.
Sweet.
Anyway, this match with Luchasaurus was very good, and there were a couple of spots. Like Drew made a good point about Edge's neck, and they sold the story on the neck. There was a couple of spots where they really made you believe that he was one injury away from ending his fucking AEW run already. Luchasaurus set up a suplex off the top onto some steps that he set up on the outside. They were kind of teasing that throughout the match. Edge fought back, landed a superplex off the top rope, which looked fucking nasty. Both guys were down, they were slow to get up. Luchasaurus then frog leaped over Copeland, and Copeland tried to spear, and Copeland crashed into a steel chair that Nick Wayne wedged into the corner. Luchasaurus then chokeslammed Copeland for a near fall. They showed Christian, who was sitting on the stage in a chair watching the match. They stood to give each other simultaneous big boots, so they had a big double down. So Luchasaurus slammed Copeland onto the ring apron, and then leapt onto the steps, and then at Luchasaurus with a spear. It looked like a half the spear. It looked like he didn't get all of it, but the fact that he had to kind of bob and weave in midair and jump off the steps and then jump to Luchasaurus was a nice spot. So Christian, he starts getting frustrated here. He runs down to the ring with the TNT title. Copeland yanked it away from him, hit Luchasaurus in the head with it. Big Wayne was distracting the ref. He was anticipating Christian using it. Luchasaurus got up, and he thought that Christian hit him with the title and didn't realize it was Edge. So Edge caught Luchasaurus with the spear. When he turned around, 1, 2, 3, and Adam Copeland wins the match over Luchasaurus. Afterwards, Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus beat up on Edge. Brian Danielson and the rest of the Blackpool Combat Club come out there. Claudio, Wheeler Yuta ran out and beat up Nick Wayne and Christian. Gates back, and he didn't get involved with Claudio and Yuta. Hangman charged out there. Edge speared Wayne. And they're kind of weaving all these stories into the end of the show to get you to Collision. I thought it was a great ending to the show. We got something to look forward to on Saturday. Adam Copeland had a great match. Luchasaurus was good. And Dynamite was a solid show tonight, man. I don't know what you guys thought of it at the end, but Title Tuesday I thought was a big success for AEW.
Let's do this.
I'm gonna tell you, man, I'm not gonna lie. When I was watching that match, and I watched them set those stairs up, and they climbed the rope, and Copeland was in the match.
Come on, let's
I
get
started
some
watching too.
You okay?
Yeah, I was the same way. I was anticipating something bad happening.
Oh, fuck.
But he's not like Darby. He's not Darby.
Oh, God. I was like, that was the beauty of what they were telling.
Yeah.
That match, realistically, everyone, I don't want to see Luchasaurus. And realistically, if you were watching this, you're sitting there and you're like, holy shit, they have me emotionally invested. This guy's going to kill Adam Copeland, and his career, he's going to have one match in AEW. Great storytelling. And at the end of the day, that's what professional wrestling in its purest art form is great storytelling and manipulating the crowd. And they did that both on television and in the audience.
They're making you feel that way, Jesse. Adam Copeland did a show.
Yeah, they did. They did. Did you see a sign in the crowd that said, please stop doing Canadian Destroyers?
Yes,
Let's
I did.
do this.
I'm
Yes,
like,
I
I hope they saw that sign.
My sign of the night was, do you like my sign? I was like,
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Now listen, the sign of the night was by Jeremy Lewis, who brought an OTS sign.
Oh, I did see
on
that.
TV.
Come on, let's get some
Shout out to Jeremy. But thank you guys for joining us on the AEW Dynamite Title Tuesday post show. Oh my
Whoa,
goodness.
there he is.
Whoa.
Impressive.
Oh.
Just a couple of them.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
God, motherfucking damn it, man. Ocean Queen with a 5.
$100 super chat here. Jesus Christ. What is this guy saying? Thoroughly enjoying the show, guys. I know I've been gone for a minute. Had some family stuff to deal with, but I didn't miss a single show on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday night. JD, bro, your grind continues to be an inspiration. Truly, much love, Drew. I've been really digging your inputs. Keep it up. Jesse, hope you and the family are good. We love Osu. He's absolutely a VIP. He owns this OTS venue. I mean, I don't.
He's. By the way, guys, since the writer's strike is now over, he is now back to work.
That is a great
The season of Bosch is getting ready to come out.
That is a great thing. We definitely love Osu. Brother, thank you so much, man. Always leaving me speechless. Thank you for the kind words. Drew and I appreciate it for Tuesday. Jesse appreciates it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man.
Very generous of you. Thank you for the support.
Let's get into the super chats here, man. Then we can go enjoy the rest of our evenings. But listen, guys, you're almost at 1,000. I would love if you guys can get to 1,000 likes. We got 851 likes, so let's get those likes up.
Bro, after Osakli's bomb, I think everyone in this chat is obligated to hit that thumbs up.
Absolutely.
We got close to 3K in here.
Yeah, that's great, man. A lot of people are anticipating this little three-man review, so I really appreciate you guys' excitement for it. And when it calls for it, and time permits for everybody, we'll be happy to do it for you. But follow us on social. I'm JD from NY206, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo. Follow Drew at Andrew Baydala on Twitter. Same thing with Jesse at Chi-Town Smart. You're going to catch Jesse and I on Wednesday next week. I will be back after my little mini vacation, stepping away for some personal shit. And then Drew and I will be live tomorrow night with, I guess it's Wednesday night Titans. But listen, man, it's fucking every night Titans. We're doing the thing on Tuesday night. Now it's kind of bleeding on to Wednesday. So make sure you guys tune in to that. We got a lot of stuff to go over. And we'll go over all the weekly happenings in WWE and AEW. We got a $2 super chat from Jim Cornette. If Vince brought back Velveteen Dream, what do you guys think? I made a video on this, which is going on tomorrow. Dream is not coming back. He's not.
About it. It's a scenario we never have to worry about.
No, I mean, with Endeavor being now in charge of WWE, why would they allow someone like that back? Come on.
Dream is this. He's turned out to be an absolute cokehead, and looks like that is the least of his problems.
Included me in that statement. I didn't say it, though.
Please. Jesse, the report said that he's gotten help the last 2 years, man. In 2 years, he feels like he's ready to come back to WWE.
I sincerely hope he has gotten help and straightened his life. This is a straight shoot.
Yeah.
I sincerely hope Patrick Clark has straightened out his life, because seeing the kind of talent that he possesses in the ring, and I would love to see him somewhere in an indie promotion or something like that if they'll have him, but unfortunately he's never going to be back on television.
The dream is over.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Michelle, with $2 super chat. MJF needs to be partners to take Bullet Club.
Come on, let's kick
How
some
about
ass.
Black Hole Combat? No, they got their Blurred the Nerd with $2 super chat. NXT was like Super Smash Brothers. Everyone was there. I mean, good for them. They want to do what they did, and they succeeded at it. They'll win the ratings tomorrow night. Everybody will celebrate AEW's demise, and the sun will shine on Thursday night.
This is all to sell media rights, guys. That's all it is.
Everybody's working. Listen, you want to
put up like 45 tweets in the last
I don't give a fuck if Tony Khan puts out 45,000 tweets. You want to know why I like it? Because we have 3,000 people in here almost for fucking Tuesday night AEW show.
We
So
win.
You win. So what?
Fans win.
Laura, thank you, brother. Michelle with a 2. It was fun watching 2 good shows tonight. Yes, it was. Jason Barker with 14 months. Hey, y'all. I just put in that work on Twitter. I was able to live tweet both shows. Get those likes up. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for the 14 months. Enjoy the shows, man. Tony Brown, 199. How many minutes will Sheeta stay champ, JD? I don't know. I'm counting down the minutes already, man. Full gear.
There's no story to do.
No.
They had to have their moment in London, and now we're stuck with distances.
Yep.
Beyond the script with the 499. Christian Cage, I know your wife is a huge fan. What a menace. Love it. OTS for life. About to 25 months in the venue. Thank you, Beyond the script. Appreciate you, brother. Hope all is well there. Lord J. Coyle with 24 months. Finally got that gold microphone emote.
TK was cooking on gas tonight. One of the best dynamites of the year, in my opinion. Yeah, it was a solid show. Solid show. What Tony Khan wants to do, what he needs to do, man, he is, I don't want to say unstoppable, but he's very good at what he does.
Keep building off your solid shows.
Yeah. Consistency. That's it. Week to week. Lucky Geo with 499. Yes, I'm sorry.
I will say, I think we said this at least once in the last 2 weeks, but I'll keep saying it because they deserve it. We've come here and as much as other people don't realize how they come here and create a really hard fucking time with their lack of long-term storytelling. And I think as of late, as of the last month or so, maybe even longer, I think they've deserved that a boy for picking that up. They changed that. They are on top of their storytelling these days. And good job.
Yeah, it's not here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
It actually has a
You feel the change on AEW, you feel the change on Monday night, man. I said it last night, Monday Night Raw is the best WWE show of the week. That's a lot.
Oh yeah, happy birthday, Tony Khan. That's right.
Happy birthday, TK, man. Drink those White Claws, brother.
Yeah.
I'll be buying an old fashioned if I could. Lucky Geo, $4.99. What's up, guys? Great stream. What do you prefer? NXT Black and Gold or AEW? I'm going Black right now.
You're talking AEW.
Yeah, you didn't elaborate. What do you make of the news, man? Let me put you on the spot here, man. CM Punk and WWE not discuss this, man. Like all the dirt sheets fucking up, man. What's going on there? What's your opinion? We'll talk about it tomorrow, man. Forget no comment. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Eric with 11 months. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, any day is OTS day. The three teams of IWC together is always great. What you got? Thank you, Eric. Thank you. That boy ale. I'll take some good old-fashioned not week.
Sweet.
Pass on.
Sweet. Thanks.
But that $4.99 Sheeta X chant makes me happy. The quarters don't bother me. NXT can only do this as a one-off. AW beats them if AW and NXT went head-to-head all year. Yeah, I would agree there. But they wanted to make a statement, so they did. Colby Duran with $1.99. Hey guys, I check out the Pillman promo. It was fire.
I did. It was very, very good.
Was it actually him speaking?
Yes.
Really?
Talked about his dad. Talked about how his dad died. He was 4. And how
But was he Lexus King?
I don't know. Maybe they announced it. I don't know. Maybe it said at the end. But I just picked up on the major hitting points. He basically was like, the last thing I want to do is be done as a superstar right now.
Just say king.
Yeah.
Say he's a king. I gave JD my thoughts on Lexus King.
Yeah. WWE wants to own everything.
Right.
And he's trying to pay his own fan, which I respect and appreciate. I think we'll get over the name. We said the same about Gunther. What a cool name, man. I can't really see him. I can't see him not being Gunther now. So
Maybe he goes to Raw or SmackDown and becomes Franklin. Maybe he's just for NXT.
So what was this strive and this drive to have his own identity when he was Brian fucking Pillman Jr. for the last 3 years?
Again, I think a lot of it has to do with the IP and the intellectual property that you're seeing. Unfortunately, what happened with Edge happened with it's based on these IP just without Edge, without the trademark Edge. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I that part, I get it. He can't have his real name because it doesn't fit with stuff. I get it. It's not, that's nothing about it.
Maybe.
That's the truth. You know, so I get that part, but Lexus King.
Yeah, it's his sister, I believe. His sister. Yeah. So here's the deal, right? Let's just say he's like, all right, Brian. Here's a 6-year contract. Maybe then they let him use. Right.
I'm excited to see what he does, man. He's got a great family legacy, and I think he deserves a shot. LJ with a 6 months. Thank you, brother. Whether we are WWE, pro fans of gold, there's nothing like pro wrestling.
Troy, you done with black before? What's the difference? We'll be right back after this intermission. Welcome back. Let's see what's wrong. It's going to turn into a thing. I don't know. There's no difference, son. It's numbers and shit.
Oh shit, boy. Let me. Oh, let's see. You think I need?
You know, it's cool. Like, if you're an R&B singer, anytime you hear some sexy shit, R&B singers always got like the same speech. They can get away with shit nobody else can. Like, play that clip again. What's up, girl? About you. It's like anytime I see you off the pillow feeling shit. Six it doesn't make no sense. Every time I think about you, I just shit like that. Okay? Same sex appeal. Play that shit in front of again. Welcome to Bank of America. I was looking at your account recently. I noticed you were overdrawn. Might want to take care of that. You know, school, if you're an R&B singer, anytime you get some sexy shit, R&B singers have always got like the same type of rhythm to they speak. Like they can get away with shit nobody else. Like play that. Like see that. Since we here though. Yes. Chef. You did tonight, and if there was anything that you did tonight that you didn't like, part of that person, the sharp big dogs, one big good thing, especially because you know, I played with you for 1 year, you and the late great Bobby, and you always tell me that you always made the free throws when they, you know, when you needed to, and I used to always take the shit. They always count. You need every one of them, but what was the logic about making free throws when the game go well? You know, my great family, you know, so it started a lot of, you know, simple, you know, so it's all, which is learning experience. Funny story. Yeah, but he's brand new. So he's watching this sort of like that. Walking under paper to love it. So when I slap him in the face, like, yeah, just this. Just feel so happy. But no, really, yeah. Yeah. Second, what is that?
Yeah. Down by the river.
I'm really with you because you want to be. You smell like a. Birthday, you know, Daddy Dave, right? And Keith, when you make sure you go, yeah. So stay. All right. How old are you, sweet? Well, you're young. I understand. How old are you? You're 24. How old are you, Pete? You know.
It's fun. Bro. Leave that girl alone. Let keep live. You damn Aries. Oh shit. Like, get back to the jokes. Fucking that nigga whole shit. Oh yeah. She's a trip. She's Dragon Ball.
These opponents are not to be underestimated. Look who's here.
Crush that blank!
I feel stronger than before!
Let's do this! The winner's the one who strikes first, yeah? Come on! Finish them off! Sweet!
I'm sure some people aren't happy about it. I think it's gonna be good. It's cool. Alright. Got time shift.
Let's do this!
I mean, yeah.
Come on! Finish them off! Oh, show me the strength of that lump!
There's still plenty of power left in these old bones.
So that's what the fuck? Yeah. Ah shit. I didn't even agree.
Come on! Finish them off!
Infinite.
Nice hit!
These foes won't be an easy fight.
I must grow stronger.
off balance and crush them!
Oh.
Now, the Naruto is that there are so many different characters that have different things, reason, different much down powers, places,
Crush them!
and thus
Show those! These opponents are not to be underestimated.
Jutsus, hundreds and thousands of times. We only see a couple, and this is a real shame, considering the fact that some of the jutsus that we only see once or twice are some of the most iconic and powerful jutsus in the entire universe. Maybe because these jutsus belong to some characters, just because these jutsus are hard to truly remnant. And awful, which is a shame because a lot of these jutsus that we see once or twice become a lot of people's favorite jutsus, which makes us feel that these jutsus that are used in once in a while are unutilized or undervalued by the Naruto universe. Jutsu often used once or twice for the duration of Naruto isn't the only way that a jutsu might feel undervalued. See, some jutsus that are used in feel undervalued. This is really passe about what they could actually be. One of the strongest jutsus in the universe, as they were jutsus might have different applications that creatures haven't explored. The sheer mechanics of how relatively simple jutsu works are actually incredibly complicated, and putting that simple jutsu off in the first place is a Herculean task that we're just not talking about. Regardless of whether or not it's because of underutilization or under-exploration, a lot of jutsus fall to the relative wayside. And these are jutsus that I've described most likely underrated. Which have the capacity to be some of the strongest jutsus in the Naruto universe, but we just don't see it. The jutsus that we do see used in one capacity but could be massively more effective in a separate capacity. No matter how you
Still
slice it,
plenty of
these are
power
jutsus
left in these old bones.
that were shown to live up to in the Naruto universe. And because of that, they deserve their time in the sun. Which is why today we're talking the top 10 underrated jutsus in Naruto. Ranked and explained. But before we get to ranking or explaining anything, guys, please like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noty bell. And if you love me ranking and explaining things, you're really gonna like my other channel, The Commander, where instead of talking about Naruto or Boruto, I rank and explain things from Remnant. And if you like the idea of me talking about all the anime that are out, then you're gonna love my
winner's the one
anime
who strikes
podcast.
first,
Now, this is me and Danny Mata break down every half of an anime. This is on YouTube, Spotify, and podcasts. Somebody tells you the jutsu from Naruto, what do you think? Something like jutsu or Rasengan or Shadow jutsu. Those are the jutsu that we see used over and over again. Minato creates the Rasengan, teaches it to Jiraiya. Jiraiya teaches it to Naruto. Well, eventually doesn't teach it to Boruto, but Boruto learns it eventually. Kakashi creates Chidori, she teaches the Sasuke, she teaches the Saren. Orochimaru learns how to stretch his body in a couple of ways and kind of improves that into Mitsuki. The reason that we see jutsus used over and over and over again, even across generations, is because drawing a bunch of new and original jutsu is not only mentally taxing, but also just kind of difficult. To think about a new, unique jutsu in the universe for every fight, it's kind of tough. And while occasionally characters will use new and interesting jutsus, like Naruto and Sasuke combining their powers to create a more powerful version of the Black Flame on the Barasu Cross and shortcuts that can toss across an entire battlefield and light up a bunch of tentacles. But the majority of the time, we're going to be served as some different variation of Chidori Rasengan, as doctors are historically over words, and coming up with new jutsu and the design of it is tough when you have to turn in 15 pages. And this isn't just a problem in Naruto. Even universes with incredibly fleshed out and awesome power systems like Hunter x Hunter and JJK are still privy to this kind of thing. Characters, movesets, and usually they stick to said movesets. In fact, when it comes to variety of moves used in universe, Naruto is actually probably number one. However, that doesn't mean that Naruto didn't forbid some jutsu.
There's still plenty of power left in
Not a
these old
variety of
bones.
moves that you depict in either your manga or anime is that there's gonna be some moves that are incredible that could just never be used again. And today, we're gonna be talking about those jutsu. Now, I've compiled a list of 10 jutsu that I believe are massively underrated. But I believe there's a lot more than 10 jutsu that are massively underrated in Naruto, so I gotta do at least one honorable mention. So before we get into our top 10, let me do my one honorable mention. See, people have been yelling at me for a long time to do a like the summons in Naruto, and I will do it one day. It's just play a task, but he sat me down and told me to rank and explain all of the summons based on personal enjoyment. Unfortunately, will be a summon that we only see one time, and that's because my favorite summon in the entirety of the Naruto universe is Tamari's summon, known as Kamatari. Kamatari is with a sickle and an eye patch. That's sick. Technically, Kamatari appears 4 times, 2 times in canon. The first time being Tamari's battle against Tayuya, where she swoops in and saves Shikamaru. Now, there's also a filler arc in Part 1 of Naruto, where she summons him, and there's also a filler fight in the 4th Bridge Shinobi World Rules, where she summons him. However, the other time that we actually see Kamatari in canon, it's in Shikamaru's first light novel, with Shikamaru eating a cloud drifting in silent darkness. But filler or not, every single time that Kamatari has graced us with its presence, it has been incredible. Truly, if you only want to focus on the times that Kamatari gets summoned in canon, technically only one of those times is animated, and that one time was enough. See, Kamatari, when Tamari summons him to help in the battle against Tayuya, not only does Tayuya find you as a kid to giant gauntlets that you can control, and a level 2 curse mark, so in the process of defeating Tayuya, Kamatari cuts down an entire forest, not like a couple of trees, an entire forest as far as the eye can see, which is why Kamatari was so effective against Tayuya, because they were like, oh, she's in that general direction, kill everything in front of us. Kamatari did it. Kamatari pretty much represents the highest level of quick release you can see in Naruto. Its forward was summoning it at 13 years old. That's insane. Sure, summons like Yamabuta and Aoda could probably destroy an entire forest if they wanted to, but they're also 400 feet tall. Kamatari is legitimately just a weasel with a sickle. So Kamatari probably destroyed the forest faster than those Yamabuta or Aoda could. So yeah, the fact that Kamatari only makes one canon manga appearance, I love him. I want a weasel with an eye patch and a sickle. But enough about my favorite summons. Let's get to the actual 10. Coming in at our number 10 spot, I don't want to call it last because the jutsu is incredible, is Super Beast imitating drawing. This is known colloquially Super Beast. This is a technique used by Sai, Ijin Sai's son. Well, the jutsu is used in the anime and the manga of Konami. Sai replaces Sasuke for a large amount of the manga. I don't believe it's about enough. It's one of the most powerful and dangerous jutsus out there. Mostly because Sai as a character is pretty largely forgotten, which is why he's in the top 3 of underrated characters in Naruto for me. See, the jutsu in premise is pretty simple. To the left, the user creates drawings and animate, and that's to say that the user is drawing the simple confirmation seal. They're able to bring whatever they drew to life, and whatever drawn will act upon the user's will. And the common misconception here is that this technique is weak. I mean, all you really need to do is get some chakra-infused ink, do a little painting, and once the painting is done, the beast jumps off the scroll. But since these beasts are made of ink, one punch is usually enough to destroy them. And you're right, in that capacity, the technique is kind of weak. The durability of the monsters created isn't all that high. The stability lacks in raw strength. The durability it makes up for in versatility. See, Sai and Inogen can draw anything. Sai's able to do anything from turning into small animals that can travel to a location, explode themselves, and confer a message all incredibly discreetly, to creating massive birds that can carry Sai on their back and carry him somewhere at high speeds, or allow him to battle in the air, creating tigers that can launch out of a scroll, grab onto somebody, and slowly drag them into the scroll, sealing them in one of the strongest Fuinjutsus in the entire Naruto universe. Sai can create small black mice that can scout out entire areas and see enemy forces and then come back to them and report to them on everything that they've seen. Snakes that can enter buildings through tiny cracks soundlessly and carry out assassination missions for Sai. Fish who can swim across entire oceans and deliver a message on the other side of a body of water. Giant crabs, dragons, anything. And I'm sure the majority of these drawings can be destroyed in one punch. Sai can also create tons of drawings. And considering the fact that Sai was responsible for sealing some of the strongest ninjas in history when they were brought back from the 4th Great Shinobi World War, the Edo Tensei, the strength of things like his tiger sealing technique are so strong that it doesn't matter who you are. If he gets his fangs in you, it's over. Combine that with years of assassination work, the ability to draw incredibly quickly, and a versatility that allows Sai to stay off of the battlefield, and you have an incredibly dangerous technique, and one that I believe doesn't get enough love. But with the shift in the times, and people like Sai, as time goes on, it's
favorite characters, I believe that this technique gets a lot more love than everything else on this list, which is why it's sitting at number 10. Let's get to the jutsus that nobody talks about, because coming in at number 9, we have the hiding with cameras technique. It's a stupid name, but the jutsu itself is really powerful. This technique is kind of a derivative of the transparent escape technique. Well, they're kind of the exact same thing. I can't tell which is the right which. We've never actually seen transparent escape technique used in the manga, but we have seen hiding with camouflage used in the manga. For those of you who don't know what either of these techniques are, they're jutsus that make you invisible. Now, the transparent escape technique was created by Jiraiya so that he could watch women in the bath. You know, just Jiraiya things. What a horrifying and reality-shaking concept that one of the most powerful people in the universe used his ninjutsu prowess to essentially commit felonies. So since we have seen high camouflage technique used in the manga and therefore in the anime and canon episodes, that's the one we're going to be talking about today. See, this technique allows the user to control light around their body, which causes their form, shadow, and even breath to become invisible to the naked eye. However, it actually does a little bit more than this. It doesn't only make you invisible, it also camouflages your scent, which makes you almost impossible to see or even detect. The only way that somebody's able to detect somebody using the hiding with camouflage technique is by the sounds that they make. As regardless of whether or not you can be seen or smelt, if you step on a stick, you step on a stick. On top of this, people who use the Sharingan or the Byakugan can still see you, as it's not like you can erase your chakra signature, but still, the amount of people with a Byakugan or Sharingan relative to the entire population of the Naruto universe is next to nothing, making this one of the greatest reconnaissance, stealth, or assassination type jutsus in the entirety of Naruto. And there is one, yes, that's right, one manga canon user of this technique. Much the same capacity as there's only one manga canon user of the transparent escape technique, and Jiraiya never actually even uses it in the manga. The only person ever uses it in the manga is a man by the name of Taiseki from Eva, one of the ninjas that Team Minato had to fight on the mission in the Third Great Shinobi World War that killed Obito. And mind you, the scent of the user is so well masked that Kakashi isn't able to smell him. And Kakashi is said to have a nose better than that of a ninja house. Why this technique isn't taught in the Shinobi Academy, I will never know. The biggest part about being a ninja is being stealthy. Well, techniques like the substitution jutsu and the transformation jutsu are obviously important to your standard ninja dome tasks. Being invisible would also be hugely helpful. And consider the fact that this technique has been made by two separate people in separate villages for separate purposes, it made that hard to create. Oh no, we're Team Togurama deep in Hidden Cloud territory. We need to have somebody stay behind in order to fight off the 20 S-Class ninja who are coming to kill all of us. What if we all just scatter and turn? Years of assassination work for you. Being invisible would also be hugely helpful. Except the fact that this technique has been made by separate people in separate villages for separate purposes, it made that hard to create. Oh no, we're Team Togurama deep in Hidden Cloud territory. We need to have somebody stay behind in order to fight off the 20 S-Class ninja who are coming to kill all of us. What if we all just scatter and turn invisible for a little while? There are so many situations this technique could have just saved the day. Yes, two people know it. Let's make the techniques. The two people know in the movie, but many more know in the anime. We have our number 8 spot, the water prison jutsu. Now, the only two people who have ever been displayed to know how to use this move in canon are Kisame and Suzu. This makes sense. They're two of the most legendary seven children of the mist in the mist's history. Now, time the incredible kenjutsu is their little super cool and release. This is a technique that is subdued Jinchuriki, Kakashi, Tenten, Neji, Rock Lee. Pretty much anybody who's ever been caught with water prison jutsu was there for a good amount of time. So the water prison jutsu can be used one of two ways. Either the user can draw water sources around them to create a sphere of water. The water is explicitly said to be heavy. And therefore, because the water is heavy, it makes it incredibly hard to move in this sphere and also hard to breathe. Because regardless of how heavy the water is, if you're stuck in a sphere of water, you shouldn't be able to breathe. It's just weird. So apparently you can breathe within a sphere a little bit, but you don't even need a nearby water source. You can also just expel the water from your mouth to create the water prison jutsu. Since within the confines of this water prison, it's not only difficult to breathe, but also move. Most people can't escape water, which means if you catch catch somebody in this technique, that's pretty much the fight done. Now, obviously, people have been able to break out of this technique. Kisame Nakatsuki was able to break out of this technique by expelling water out of his body and increasing the volume of the water prison until it was at a level that it couldn't maintain. But somebody trying to catch Kisame in a water prison jutsu was stupid in the first place. The Neji was also able to escape this technique on his own by firing chakra out from all of his Tenkensen points simultaneously, effectively creating the suit of rotation without the rotation. But unless the person that you're trying to capture is a master of gentle fists or probably the strongest water ninjutsu user in the entire universe, if you catch somebody in this technique, that's it. Now, some will say that this technique is weak because in order to maintain the water prison, you have to keep an arm in the water prison the entire time. However, anybody who's able to use this water prison jutsu is also able to use water clones. And therefore, all you have to do to maintain this technique is create a water clone who will keep its arm in the water prison to maintain the water prison, and you're good. You can run around. And you know what you can do while your water clone is maintaining that water prison? You can line up your most powerful ninjutsu, taijutsu, or ninjutsu attack. Person who's stuck in a bubble of water they can't leave from. You could just like inject some poison into the water that they're going to be forced to have to inhale. So long as there isn't some scrappy kids turning themselves into demon shurikens, you're probably going to be fine. And you probably won the fight. And yet we only ever seen 2 people use this technique, Kisame and Zabuza. And that's just weird. It's the C-rank jutsu. Not only people from the mist can use it, it's not even a whole modern ninjutsu to use. About jutsus that really can use, let's look at specific theory-oriented hidden jutsus that only one clan can use. Because coming in at number 7, we put it just the Aburame clan as a whole. Maybe just parasitic destruction insect technique, but I'm trying to be more specific. So coming in at number 7, we have the Renkaichu and the Kidaichu. Now the Renkaichu and the Kidaichu are 2 different kinds of bugs that are utilized by the Aburame fleet. But both are technically bugs available in Shino's arsenal. See, the Renkaichu is a bug that was originally introduced to both to rule around the right hand of Danza. It's a nanosized purple bug that creates an incredibly powerful flesh-eating toxin. So all Tsurune has to do is manifest the Renkaichu to his skin, and anybody he touches is infected with this toxin that eats away at their skin way too fast. Basically, if you're touched by Tsurune's Renkaichu, you will lose whatever he touches, as the toxin begins to eat away at flesh and bone instantaneously. Now, Chino is technically compatible with the Renkaichu, however, didn't really vibe with the violence of it. However, he does still technically work with the Renkaichu. See, instead of becoming a host of the Renkaichu in a normal sense, Chino crossed Tsurune's Renkaichu with his bugs, giving his bugs the ability to create an antibody to the toxin, so technically being able to create the toxin as well. Which means in a somewhat roundabout capacity, Shino has access to the Renkaichu, as well as having an access to the cure for the Renkaichu toxin. Which means, in essence, Shino has crossbred nano-sized bugs with his regular bugs, and given his regular bugs the ability to create a toxin that once it is injected into your body, will eat away at it instantaneously until you are nothing. And what does he do with that? Well, he fights against Tsurune and wins, but after that, pretty much nothing, which is insane. Outside of that, Shino also has access to a bug known as the Kidaichu, which is constantly feeding off his chakra, like the rest of the bugs in his body. However, the Kidaichu needs to be fed an exact amount of chakra, and if it's not fed that exact amount of chakra, it will consume as much chakra as it can get and grow in size exponentially and instantaneously, which means that if hypothetically Shino were to inject these bugs into your body and you didn't know how much chakra to feed them, which you wouldn't, you would explode from the inside because a bug the size of a boulder just appeared in your chest. Once again, incredibly broken. It's basically how everybody wanted Ant-Man to defeat Thanos. And these are 2 abilities that can't be absorbed by things like a Rinnegan or Cardboard because they're physical matter. They're not jutsu, meaning that Shino is pretty much the only person on Earth that's advantageous against people like the Otsutsuki, as all he would have to do to permanently cripple an Otsutsuki is either punch them with the Renkaichu or get 1 Kidaichu into them. And then
GG's.
Shino is relegated to Shutter Shades like he's 2012 Kanye and losing in battles to Mitsuki, which is insane when you consider the fact that in universe he should be one of those powerful people in existence. Jutsus that entire clans can use. Let's look at how jutsus that only one person can use. Because looking up at number 6, we have body pathway derangement. Now technically, while Sakura can use this move in video games, Tsunade is the only person in the anime depicted to have mastered this technique. But kind of thank God for that. The reason Tsunade is the only person who's mastered this technique is because it's a high-level medical ninjutsu. Tsunade is a high-level medical ninjutsu specialist. In order to use the technique, Tsunade, essentially like Killua, transmutes her chakra into an electrical field, giving her chakra the properties of electricity. However, instead of using this technique to increase her offense, move her defensive output, or increase her speed like Killua, Tsunade uses this technique to beat her electrified chakra into somebody's nervous system via this to rearrange somebody's nervous system, making it so any electrical system in their body is misfired. And those affected by this technique will have their body do anything other than what their brain is trying to tell their body to do. Meaning if you try to move your hand to anything but your hand will used against anybody. It's pretty much GG's. It's not standard that after getting hit by this technique, it's almost impossible to move, let alone and honestly, I to agree. Even if that in order to move my left foot, I had to think about my right ear. I probably couldn't do it.
Okay,
I have nothing capacity in which I could walk or run or throw a fight. What does I have to do to pull off this technique? Touch ya. Some techniques don't even require physical to pull off. Like our number 5 jutsu on this list, mind-body disturbance jutsu. If I ask you what the biggest problem with the Yamanaka clan is, what would you say? The fact that they can transfer their body into 1, maybe 2 people, and then their body goes through. And thus, in order for them to truly reach their peak of efficiency, they need somebody around to carry their unconscious to the grand scope of a place like seems like a huge inconvenience. Well, what if I told you that them using their mind transfer jutsu was made entirely irrelevant by another jutsu that they know? They have an ability that doesn't transfer their minds to other people, but it still accomplishes the desired effect. And that technique is known as the mind-body disturbance technique. If you remember, clan members able to send their chakra into somebody else's body to control their nervous system, giving them full control over somebody's body. And while they may not have control over their thoughts and mind and the intel in that head, they're able to control people's bodies. It's not just one person. Multiple people simultaneously. Instead of their body going limp and them needing to be carried somewhere safe, they retain consciousness. And this is perfect if a Yamanaka member is as a Yamanaka clan member can use this technique against multiple people to have those people kill each other. And the worst part is, since their minds aren't being controlled, all the people being controlled retain consciousness. So even if they survive, they have to live with the trauma of down their teammates. Kind of like the king or the guards from Dressrosa being forced to cut down all the civilians and don't let them go get home. Well, I understand the Yamanaka clan members are actually more useful in the collection of intel than the taking out of enemies. The fact that the Yamanakas have an ability that allows them to cut down entire groups of people with their consciousness, and they use it once, maybe twice throughout the duration of the entire manga is mind-blowing to me. And Ino in the manga is never shown using it. Only her mother, Anoichi, is shown using it. To mention, just like all other Yamanaka abilities, this technique can be used from a distance. It means you could just be standing with ruffians and then you're being controlled to stab said ruffians, which could have people. But speaking of killing some groups of people simultaneously, coming in at number 4, somewhat appropriately, we have C. Dangerous said, what do you think of his C2 dragon? His C1 his spiders, his lanky, he was 3 Megalon. Do you maybe think about his when he was related to his heart, then exploded himself. Said carbide explosion, then killed Abra, or Mon, killed the groups we think about. Most people don't think about Dangerous C. And that's because we only ever see Dangerous use his ability once. Wait, no, it's not true. We see him use a tiny little chibi version of his battle against Inoki after he's brought back to life with the rich number. See him use it at the peak of its once. And unfortunately, when he uses it, it doesn't really do all that much. See, the technique was created in a Itachi. And it has Dangerous hated Itachi because Itachi was the reason that he got recruited into the Akatsuki. Now, the way that this technique works, that Dangerous expels a ton of explosives from his mouth. And all of that explosive clay that he essentially throws up forms a massive cloud of him. However, this cloud doesn't explode in a traditional sense. This cloud blows up like a balloon, then pops. However, when this balloon pops, it releases a cloud of nano-sized balloons, which when inhaled, Danero will explode to vaporize anything that had the grave misfortune of inhaling them. That's a terrifying jutsu, so scary that even Obito said it was a fearsome jutsu, because to most people, they would see a massive clone of Data made of explosive clay and would think, oh, that's gonna be a really big explosion, and then it doesn't explode, it pops. Which leads a lot of people into a false sense of security. Now, if you didn't have a Byakugan or a Sharingan, you wouldn't see any of the micro-sized moves. Because Sasuke sees chakra as color, he sees the massive cloud of bombs coming towards him, which allows him to electrify all of the bombs as they run through his system. Now, anybody without a dojutsu that allowed them to see chakra would die to this, especially if Data were to set this off in, oh, I don't know, the middle of a village or in the middle of a group of shinobi who would be thankful for 2 seconds that the massive Data didn't explode, only to turn into hell so they got snapped away by Thanos. Data just had the explicit misfortune of using the scared Sasuke. I guess in actuality, the was supposed to be using Itachi, who also would have been able to see the cloud, but whatever. All that really matters is this technique is underrated and very scary. The level of destruction that it's able to output is similar to that of C0 without it costing Data's life. And for that, C4 very appropriately gets the 4 spot. But enough about that pretty femboy. Let's talk about another pretty femboy, because coming in at number 3, we have Demonic Mirroring Ice Crystals. Demonic Mirroring Ice Crystals is one of the first Kekkei that we ever see. Well, I should say that Ice Release is one of the first Kekkei that we ever see in Demonic Mirroring Ice Crystals. It's an application of Ice Release. But Demonic Mirroring Ice Crystals is the highest level of Ice Release that we ever get to see from Haku. Truly, his magnus opus. See, this technique is only able to be performed by members of the Yuki clan, as they are the wielders of Ice Release. And this technique, even though it showed up in the early days of Naruto, is still an incredibly intimidating technique. Haku and Zabuza don't get enough credit for actually being legitimately powerful moves. See, in order to create this technique, Haku creates a dome of mirrors around an opponent. And by simply entering into one of these mirrors, Haku's reflection is shown in every single one. Now, the wildest part about this technique is that Haku has the ability to travel between these mirrors near instantaneously, which is crazy, because for all intents and purposes, it's a space-time ninjutsu. Haku is essentially reverse summoning himself to every single ice mirror that he creates. He doesn't have to physically travel from one, he teleports, which gives Haku the ability to appear to be everywhere all at once. And thus anybody with the great misfortune of finding themselves in the center of this Senbon hell is thus filled with Senbon, as Haku can jump from mirror to mirror to mirror, tossing Senbon constantly and filling you with needles. Now, technically, was this the strongest possible application of this mirror jutsu? Probably not. See, we understand that this jutsu requires a lot of chakra from Haku, and therefore he can't do it forever. However, he doesn't really need forever, because even if you get lucky and strike the mirror that Haku happens to be in, once that mirror is broken, Haku can just jump out one of the mirror fragments into another mirror. And even if you can track what mirror Haku is in, I'll remind you he can travel near instantaneously, which would mean he can probably get to a new mirror faster than he can track and react to. Now, as the Naruto really don't do much. It's Kunai and Shuriken and Senbon all the time and are completely fine with Sasuke and hypothetically Haku could throw something dangerous than Senbon, like an explosive tag. He could pretty easily wipe out anybody with the misfortune of being in his dome. And when we consider the fact that the first data said that Haku travels at speed between his mirrors, first explosive tags come in from great speed in different directions would be very easily the things don't come in because Naruto with his Jinchuriki speed the Senbon being thrown. The majority of the Senbon.
Catch them in their blind spots.
The majority of the Senbon die with explosives attached to them. Fight would have ended without a hunter saying, "You're my way." Why not? It's a the Haku's stand up against some ceasefire. They know he's the thing to destroy them. Because mirrors is Naruto in his privilege and jerky state. Haku technically wouldn't even have to go so far as using explosives. Take this Senbon and poison 3 more of those bad boys into somebody's back and see you later. And premise it's one like stop jutsu. Unless you are a light speed opponent or able to track light speed movements, you're going to lose. You're able to move your defenses to such a level that Senbon can't penetrate. What's crazy is that Haku doesn't technically need to make this dome. Haku can just make a mirror next to somebody and teleport himself to it. Thus, in essence, his demonic ice crystal mirror technique is basically flying Raijin. It's all on a much smaller scale, admittedly. But because of that, it's vastly underrated. It's viewed as a technique that Tugeti were able to overcome, like those Tugeti reincarnations of gods. Made from techniques known by few to known by all. Because coming in at number 2, we have a technique that probably every single ninja in the Naruto universe knows, but for some reason stopped using it.
Impressive,
None other
huh?
than substitution jutsu, also known as the body replacement jutsu. This technique is weird. Because here's the thing, it's kind of common knowledge that everybody in the entire Naruto universe knows the substitution jutsu. Why? And how does it work? Genuinely, we never get an explanation. But the hardest thing about the substitution jutsu is that you don't have to replace yourself with something like a log. It's just a lot of people do that. And we know this because the substitution jutsu isn't
Impressive, huh?
and sometimes while it is a log, it's a log covered in explosive tags. See, the way that the substitution technique works, at least so far as we know, is that right before you're hit, you replace your body with something nearby, whether it be a rock or a log. It just has to be something. Now, the reason that it's important that it is something you replace your body with is because when people punch that something, it feels like something. It doesn't just poof like a shadow clone. And because this people believe that they hit you, only to realize that they punched a log, which gives you a temporary window to counterattack. But here's the thing about substitution jutsu. The jutsu not the truth you're to pull it off in the first place is insane. So before you get hit, you pull something else. Use transformation jutsu. It's so fast that the person who's hitting you doesn't even realize that it's not you. That's insane. And some people go so far as to not only grab things, but also coat set things in explosive seals. Do you have to be to pull that off? Because there's no way every single ninja is running around with a log on them. They have to grab it. And that log is always cut. So is it sealed? Are they opening a scroll, unsealing a log, replacing their body with it, using transformation jutsu on it, and then hiding their real body so fast that you can't react to it? But what's wild is that the substitution jutsu appears to be a reflex. See, the substitution jutsu only works on attacks that are meant to injure. Every attack meant to restrain or seal, we've never seen somebody substitute out of. It's only attacks that are meant to injure or maim or kill that have ever been substituted out of. And therefore, is the substitution jutsu an innate response to a deadly attack? And once again, the speed required to pull this off is absolutely insane. See, because here's the thing, you can't plan to use the substitution jutsu. You use transformation jutsu on a log, that log can't move. It's not like you're turning the log into a shadow clone. You're just making the log look like you. If you could give that log sentience, that's a jutsu we don't yet know. And thus the counter argument of, oh, everybody's setting it up before because they know they're gonna get hit, doesn't work because a log transformed to look like you couldn't have gotten that situation in the first place. And thus, while the substitution jutsu was obviously phased out in the later stages of Naruto, the fact that it was ever used in the first place is to be able to use this jutsu effectively in the first place, one would have to know transformation jutsu, which brings us to number one entry on this list. Transformation jutsu. See, I've long stood in the camp that transformation jutsu is by far and away the most insane out of the jutsus in Naruto. Not even just because it knows it just crazy, but because of the things that we've seen transformation jutsu do. See, in its basis most refined form, transformation jutsu gives someone the ability to look like somebody else. And while there are technically ways to see through a transformation jutsu, like scent or mannerisms or chakra signature, but here's the thing, the capabilities of the transformation jutsu go beyond being able to turn yourself into any human you want to, which is even a possibility in the first place, mind you. I mean, genuinely, all I have to do is familiarize myself with how somebody looks and walks, and I can be them. That's kind of crazy. Well, obviously, transformation jutsu is technically still a very difficult jutsu, even though it's one of the ones required to graduate from the Shinobi Academy. There are higher levels of application to it than just turning into somebody else. See, ninjas, outside of being able to transform into somebody else, also have the capability to turn into inanimate objects, and to turn into a hand split, fence, or a demon shuriken, which is insane. This means that conservation of mass does not exist in the Naruto universe, and that's corroborated multiple times. One, in the early days of Naruto turns into a demon shuriken, and thus Sasuke throws him, and Sasuke's like, no, it's that one, but joke's on you, it's actually Naruto. And while the prospect of turning into a weapon might seem kind of silly, some people take it to genuinely the nth degree. A great example of this is Monkey King Enma, who's able to turn into an adamantite staff. See, here's the thing about Monkey King Enma, a flesh in blood monkey turning into an adamantite staff. This means that users of the transformation technique are able to rearrange their molecular structure, which makes sense. We literally just talked about a boy turning into a shuriken. And adamantite is the strongest material in Naruto. It's the vibranium of the Naruto universe. This is why the Uzumaki chains are adamantite chains. It's the strongest jutsu ability to create because it's made using the strongest material on Earth. why even Kurama isn't able to break out of these chains, because they're basically impossible to break. Monkey King Enma, an adamantite staff, is so powerful that it's able to block attacks from Orochimaru's Kusanagi, which is said to be able to cut anything. And plus, adamantite is basically impossible to penetrate or break through. And Monkey King Enma, from undergoing his transformation into an adamantite staff, was also infused Shadow Glow Jutsu, thus was able to create a out of adamantite staff that was able to block a deep force of emergence from Hachirama, one of the most powerful jutsus in all of Naruto. So not only are ninjas able to turn into inanimate objects, but they're also able to restructure their molecular structure to make their bodies incomprehensibly hard. Keep the double entendres going only in Monkey King Enma makes his entire body hard. He can also lift it indefinitely as Monkey type staff is infinitely extendable. That's how Hiruzen was able to push Kurama out of coma. So not only is there no conservation of matter for a ninja undergoing the transformation jutsu, there's also a complete and total ability to restructure molecular structure. There's typically limits to what you should be able to turn into using transformation technique, which again is corroborated by the fact that Naruto uses transformation technique on Gamabunta and turns him into Kurama. So you, using transformation technique, use basics. Will they know use those? No. Will they have 9 tools? Is it claws? Yeah, the real question becomes, why isn't everybody constantly big animals into tailed beasts? Do we even need to use big animals to turn into tailed beasts? Since we know the conservation of mass isn't a thing, we're turning ourselves into tailed beasts. You can go from flesh and blood monkey to the hardest metal on Earth, which is substantially denser, and expose yourself indefinitely. I don't think there is an upper limit. There also doesn't appear to be a lower limit. No, weighs way more than a demon shuriken, probably. Child Naruto. Why do we not constantly see change into different inanimate or animate objects? Oh no, you found out I was impersonating one of the ninjas on your team. Too bad I'm 9 foot tall now. See, that's the craziest part to me. Even if we assume that you can't just turn yourself into a 9-foot giant, you know what Kisame looks like. You could turn yourself into Kisame, and sure, you don't get his strength or his jutsu, but you still have more jutsu. Do we not specifically what's stopping people from making us? It is just conscious. It me from turning into a bird and flying to the next country. Like think about it for 2 seconds. If Gamabunta can be Kurama, why can't I be a bird? Sure, you have to familiarize yourself with what a bird feels like and how it operates. Own a bird for a week. Everybody in Naruto should be Beast Boy. Just like based off the rules they've been depicted. And the fact that they weren't is only a good thing. So baffling. I will never shut up. What do you guys think? So I realize they're underappreciated jutsu enough. You've heard anybody say anime is all just hollow piece of anime. Usually they'll reference things like Black Clover, JJK, and say,
Come on, let's kick some ass.
JJK, there's a team of 2 guys and a girl, but their leader is white-haired, undefeatable. Happens. Size, JJ, must copy of Naruto. Black Clover is a story about a blonde-haired orphan whose best friend is a black-haired orphan, and they have a rivalry to see who's going to become stronger and become the Wizard King. Sounds a lot like Hokage to me. And what makes it even worse is that the blonde-haired kid eventually gets a demon inside of him, just like Naruto. Now, you've been around for long. Unfortunately, you will hear a lot of people saying things like this. But the problem with this ideology is first and foremost believing that shonen anime has been TV genuinely espouses the belief that you believe that JJK is a copy of Naruto. I know I'm good. Does even sit here and say that JJK or Black Clover are a copy of Naruto? You can just easily say that Naruto is a copy of Hunter.
Impressive,
You mean Kurapika and Sasuke, both the last people surviving from a clan of people who were hit for their red eyes, now hell-bent on revenge. Don't sound like similar characters to you, but I know better, and I know that Naruto isn't a rip-off of Hunter x Hunter. There is a lot of similarities, and the real way to know better is to understand that shonen anime has never been all that original. Listen, for the last 30 to 40 years that shonen anime has had a chokehold over the the anime community, there has been a relay way to make your shonen anime as popular as possible, and that was don't do anything that outside the norm. See, listen, there's a reason that JJK is substantially more popular than this shonen anime that came out around the same time. However, JJK has way more massive appeal, and that's because JJK is about a bunch of high schoolers who have to do demons, and they have a quirky teacher. It's a cool in-universe power system that can explain basically everything that happens. This goes about two boys falling in love while riding a crab, crush random post-apocalyptic era while trying to cure the world through the power of mushrooms. Originality doesn't necessarily pay in the worlds of anime. I mean, I love it. This goes one of my favorite animes to come out in the last decade, but I'm not everyone. But it's the thing. The problem with originality goes far beyond just shonen anime. Because if we can just keep going further and further back into shonen anime, we can find a shonen anime made in the 70s and the 80s and be like, that's the true original piece. Everything is a fist of the North Star and and while early anime like those two absolutely blaze the trail for the anime world as we know it currently, we're calling those pieces of media original is a stretch. Because everything, and I mean everything, goes back way before anime was even an idea. Shinto mythology, Hinduism, Buddhism, the journey to the West, Monogatari, which are Japanese epics. All of these things have inspired all anime that you consume. But here's the thing, if your understanding of Japanese mythology and Japanese Monogatari is cursory at best, you wouldn't see these connections. You would just see, that anime seems like this anime, without realizing that the reason that these two anime look alike isn't because this anime is based off this anime, it's because they're both based off the same Japanese mythological ideas. And Naruto is no exception to that. In fact, Naruto, by many who know, has been described as one of the least original stories ever. And genuinely, my understanding of Monogatari and Japanese mythology and Hindu and Buddhist ideologies is why I believe I understand what Kishimoto was going to write so well. Because a good amount of the time, he's just remixing things that have already been written. Well, there's technically nothing wrong with that. Obviously, he takes a lot of inspiration from Japanese mythology, Monogatari, Hinduism, Buddhism, and lines of characters from stories into some universe. But in large, he's writing those characters into unique situations that didn't happen to them in their original stories. Not all the time, but most of the time. Which is why today I want to sit down and tell you all about everything from Naruto that was inspired by previous media. And by previous media, I don't mean things like Hunter x Hunter or Astro Boy or Fist of the North Star. No, today I want to sit down and describe to you everything from Naruto that comes from things like Shinto mythology, Hinduism, Buddhism, Monogatari. Basically, if it came from before any of us were alive, that's what I want to talk about. Because by depicting to you just how much of Naruto is not original IP, I believe I can better display why some anime happen to look so similar, and how that's not an anime issue, but like a Japanese history issue. And relax, because today, we're getting into our first actual history lesson. Because today, we're talking Naruto is not an original anime. But before we get into all that, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you want to see me do deep dives on how some of your other favorite anime have been inspired, Japanese mythology, guys, go ahead and follow my other channel, The Weeb Commander, where instead of talking about Naruto and Boruto, I talk all other anime. Or if you just want to hear me talk about Naruto or Boruto or some of your other favorite anime, go ahead and follow my anime podcast, Who Talks Anonymous. Me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime this week. Available on YouTube, Spotify, and podcasts. If you do want to talk about some originality, boy oh boy do I have some merch for you. Because as you can see, I'm wearing my Itachi Naruto 2024 political tee. But besides this shirt being incredibly comfortable and well-fitting, and having a fantastic front graphic, it's also got a fantastic background, which is inspired by Bernie Sanders' picture. But obviously, you know, Itachi. So, did my plugs give you enough time to pull out a notepad and a pencil for the notes you're gonna have to take today? No, because genuinely, well, I do like to weave as much history into my videos as possible, as I believe that one can't truly begin to understand the beauty of the universe built within Naruto without understanding the influences that helped build it. And because of this, when we make videos about the Susanoo or the MS or Baryon mode, we'll do small little science or history lessons to make sure that you understand where the inspirations for these things came from. Because once you understand all these influences, you realize that Masashi Kishimoto is trying to mash a couple of different genres together. He's trying to take mythological influences from Japan's history, mash them together with ninjas, and bring them into a sci-fi universe. And once you understand that, understanding where he's trying to go with his stories becomes a whole lot easier. So now, let's get into making you understand Naruto. Now, there's really no easy way to start this video. I mean, sure, I could go chronologically throughout the entirety of Naruto and point out every single moment that was inspired by something else, but that would be a long video. So I'm just gonna start listing things, and hopefully that's good enough for you. Let's start with an easy inspiration that you may or may not already know about. And the reason that you may or may not know about this inspiration is because it's one of the more blatant rips from Japanese history, and it's also one of the more commonly known inspirations in Naruto. See, the legendary Sannin, that being Orochimaru, Tsunade, and Jiraiya, are not original characters. In fact, even their design and their abilities are not original. See, the legendary Sannin actually all come from a Monogatari, which I've only kind of explained very briefly what a Monogatari is. I'm not talking about the Monogatari series written by Nisio Isin, though really good anime, but confusing timeline. The Monogatari that we're talking about is an extended prose type of literature, comparable to what people in Eurocentric civilizations would call an epic. Now, Monogatari also have to have been written in a certain window of time within Japan. That is, between the Heian period and the Muromachi periods. That is to say, 794 to 1573. So, in essence, a Monogatari is a long story that was written during a certain period in Japan. And the Monogatari that the legendary Sannin come from is, you're gonna love this, The Tale of the Gallant Jiraiya, which, as a title, was obviously the inspiration for the majority of Jiraiya's books, like The Tale of the Utterly Gutless Shinobi, The Tale of Naruto Uzumaki, and so on and so forth. Well, I know what you're saying. Well, Nick, are Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru just characters in this game story? I mean, yes, they are, but they're also the main characters of this story. And unfortunately, between this Monogatari and Naruto, they share more than just names. See, in this Monogatari, Orochimaru is the bad guy, the enemy of Tsunade and Jiraiya, and the three of them fight a myriad of epic battles. Orochimaru has the ability to turn himself into a snake, and Jiraiya, who learned toad magic from a toad sage, learned the ability to turn himself into a toad and also control and manipulate toads, being able to increase the size of toads to a degree where he can ride on them. Yes, Jiraiya was taught toad magic by a toad sage. It is a toad-riding toad sage with the ability to turn himself into a toad. And Tsunade can turn herself into a slug, but also a snail, because she learned from a sage that taught her slug magic. Now, there is one difference between the Tale of the Gallant Jiraiya and Naruto, and that is that Jiraiya and Tsunade are married in the Tale of the Gallant Jiraiya. So I bet you probably wish he copied that bit as well. Masashi Kishimoto, you get it. But enough about the legendary Sannin, let's get to some other very well-known inspirations that Masashi Kishimoto used. Because outside of the legendary Sannin being influenced by the Tale of the Gallant Jiraiya, most known likeness between Naruto and Japanese mythology is probably Sasuke and the Sarutobis. See, within the confines of the Naruto universe, Sasuke is named after a legendary ninja by the name of Sasuke Sarutobi. Now, Sasuke Sarutobi is a real person within Japanese history. The Naruto universe was so legendary that people like Mikoto Uchiha decided to name their child after him. Now, Sasuke Sarutobi existed before the likes of Hiruzen, but he acts not only as an influence for Sasuke, but the entirety of the Sarutobi clan. See, the Sasuke Sarutobi is usually talked about as having monkey-like agility. Legendary ninja with the power of his monkey-like agility could accomplish any ninja task without identification. Now, this is because Sasuke Sarutobi, in a large amount of his tales, is portrayed as being raised by monkeys. It's not only allowed Sasuke Sarutobi to be an incredible ninja, but also set the foundation for the Sarutobi clan being associated with monkeys in Naruto. As when Hiruzen have monkey summons. However, the monkey similarities don't end there, as Monkey King Enma and also Hiruzen have strong similarities to Sun. Who comes to the story The Journey to the West, which was written in the late 16th century. Now, Journey to the West is one of the most legendary stories ever written, and acts as a large fountain of inspiration for tons of anime. From Dragon Ball Z, Free from God of Peace, characters within Naruto. Several that's able to extend infinitely, just like the one that Enma is able to transform into. So Hiruzen can wield him, and thus Hiruzen and Monkey Enma kind of acting in tandem are supposed to represent Sun Kong. So representing Sasuke Sarutobi. But that's also not even the only thing that Hiruzen staffs inspired. Enma's transformation to an adamantine staff has meaning that just be related to Sun Kong's, because transformation adamantine staff in Japanese is hate Kongoloid. Now the word Kongo in Japanese is actually a translation of a Hindu, the Hindu. It is a ritualistic object wielded by Indra. It is actually a double meaning because Vajra is also a Sanskrit word, which meant thunderbolt and diamond. Traverse the adamantine staff's ability to attack with thunderous offensive capability while also being as hard as a diamond. It also doesn't end there. Enma is also a reference completely separate of all this. Enma is the Japanese translation of the Hindu word Yama, the Hindu god who decides where you go after you die. Now in Japanese mythology, Enma is the god of the afterlife, served by the Japanese demons, who also presides over where souls go in their next lives. Which is why there's so much symbolism between Enma being present at the moment that Hiruzen uses Reaper Death Seed, and why Enma more than anybody doesn't want Hiruzen to use it. Starting to get into the weeds a little bit here with ones that you may not have heard of prior. So let's step back out of the weeds here and talk about one of the more commonly known references that Naruto uses, and that would be none other than Kaguya, Princess Kaguya. See, the idea of Kaguya actually comes from the oldest known Monogatari on Earth, and that would be the tale of the bamboo cutter. See, in this story, Kaguya is found by a bamboo cutter who finds her as a glowing entity within a bamboo stalk. He is contemplating this glowing baby in a bamboo stalk. The bamboo cutter and his wife named this baby Princess Kaguya, who lived with this family as their daughter until she regained her memories. Remembering that she wasn't a human, and she was actually an entity from the moon. However, she had been banished from the moon and didn't want to return to the moon. Now, eventually, she gets unbanished from the moon and returns to the moon, but not until her family, all the humans who got to know her, gave her something known as a Hakuro, which in English translates to feather mantle. It's kind of like a feather head necklace kind of thing. And thus, the thing that returned back to the moon with her was Hagoromo. The similarities here are quite obvious. The innocence stays down to the world. She lives amongst humans for a little bit until humans realize that she herself is not human. At this point, she has to return to outer space. However, in Naruto, how it happens is that Hagoromo and Hagura seal her in the moon, which does technically send her back to the moon, even though the moon didn't exist prior to her being sealed. So the entire purpose of Kaguya's character until the bamboo cutter is returning her to the moon, while in Naruto, the entire purpose is resealing her inside of the moon. Hagoromo was instrumental in the representation of sending her back to the moon, because in the tale of the bamboo cutter, she was sent back with the Hagoromo, and in Naruto, she was sent back with the Hagoromo. Then Hagoromo would go on to take the 10 tails that she kind of was for a little bit and split it into 9 tailed beasts, who are all respawned. The first and most obvious and only connection between the tailed beasts and real-life animals or mythological entities would be the one-tailed Shikaku, because Shikaku is very clearly modeled after a Taniki, which is a Japanese raccoon dog, and they exist, though they were bolted in Japanese mythology as yokai for a long time. In fact, a lot of people believe that Shiva, Otsutsuki god, is based off of one of the 3 famous Taniki of Japanese mythology. Shiva and Taniki, but yeah, and that's an entirely different video, so we're not going to talk about it now. Now, Taniki, Japanese mythology and storytelling are enemies of one type of animal, and that one type of animal is foxes, which is why Shikaku and Kurama figure so much. Because obviously Kurama is a fox, the 9-tailed fox, pretty cute, and Shikaku is a Taniki. But Shikaku's symbology actually goes beyond just a Taniki, because Shikaku, and more specifically Shukaku, and Jinchuriki are based off of a Japanese tale, but Shakugan. Some versions of this story popped up in 1871. See, in the folktale tellings of this story, the Taniki transforms into a tea kettle, so that the human that owns the Taniki can sell the tea kettle to a priest, and the Taniki can turn back into a Taniki and run away with the money. However, this tale is based off of legend. Shigama is the name of a tea kettle owned by a priest named Shukaku. However, the tea kettle turned out to be an ancient raccoon dog, a Mujina. The leader of the Mujina bandits, Bertel Shoujo, has the ability to shapeshift because he's based off the Mujina. The this story. However, there are obviously more connections than just the Muchina bandits to this story. So we all know that when the Sand Villages catches Shukaku for the first time, they seal Shukaku and Bunpuku, not Bunpuku. Bunpuku is the name of the story. Bunpuku with a B is the name of the first Shinchurki of Shukaku inside of a tea kettle. And this isn't the only time that Shukaku ends up in a teapot or tea kettle of sorts. As when he's transported from the Hidden Sand Village to the Hidden Leaf Village by Team 7, he's also once again put in a pot, which is all a reference to Chagamo. That's not where the symbology in the Nine-Tailed Beast ends, because Son Goku was also a reference to that guy we brought up already, Son Goku. Son Goku of the Four Tails is kind of based off Goku, who's kind of based off Son Goku. See, Son Goku was referred to as the king of the sage monkeys, which is exactly what Son Kong is referred to as. But more than that, there's also the fact that Haku decided to place Son Goku in a mountainous area with a waterfall. Because in the beginning of the journey to the west, Son Kong lives in a cave with a bunch of other monkeys. And in order to start his journey, he has to traverse through a waterfall to leave the cave. So Son Goku being placed in a mountainous area with waterfalls is a reference to where Son Goku started from. Nick, are we done with the journey to the west yet? No. Now, the rest of the Tailed Beasts aren't really references to anything, I don't think. I think the Eight Tails might be a reference to something. I'm spacing it if it is, though. The Seven Tails is just based on the stack. Might be based off some mythological cat. Oh yeah, it's kind of minor. Matsudabi is based off the Nekomata, which is a Japanese folktale. The unicorn, the Chipdog. Six Tails is based off the Sansa Oni, which are snake demons that hunted pirates and took their treasure. However, in order to pull pirates to them, they would look like beautiful women, and then once the pirates got close enough, back to snail demons. So back to the Journey of the West, because characters like Son Goku and Hiruzen and King Enma are the only references to the Journey to the West that we see in Naruto, as characters like Kinkaku and Ginkaku are also references to the Journey of the West. Well, like, they are or they aren't. See, prior to Kinkaku and Ginkaku being two demon brothers within the Journey of the West, Kinkakuji and Ginkakuji were temples in Japan, specifically Buddhist Zen temples in Kyoto. Now, Kinkakuji is the Gold Tower, and it's the much more famous of the two. Basically, if you've ever been to Kyoto or ever had a friend who went to Kyoto, they've been to Kinkakuji. And if you're ever planning to go to Kyoto, I recommend you do go to Kinkakuji. It's a 3-story pagoda with the outside layered in gold leaf, and an emperor's soul is enshrined there. The Japanese don't have, like, physical mummies, but they always enshrine the soul of their emperors into a temple. Now, Kinkakuji is the less famous of the two towers, and that's probably because it's the silver tower. And people just like gold more than silver historically. But these two towers are always viewed as two separate entities that coexisted, and that idea was put to paper in the Journey to the West, where Kinkaku and Ginkaku were two demon brothers that come up against Son Kong, represent arguably his strongest challenge in the entirety of the Journey to the West. They battle against Son Kong, but they also kidnap his master. And the reason that Kinkaku and Ginkaku, the two demon brothers, are so powerful is because they were born from a nine-tailed vixen. So I'm sure you can see the relation here. About the Journey to the West, let's go way further back than that. Let's talk about Shinto lore. Now, Shintoism is kind of like the Greek mythology of Japan. It was the primarily believed religion in Japan until things like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity found Japanese mainland. Many things, and I mean many things in Naruto, are named after Shinto lore. In fact, pretty much every single thing that has to do with an evolved version of the Sharingan ties its roots back to Shinto lore. But then also an MS ability that allows you to manifest black flames that burn forever is just the name of the Japanese sun goddess. Not Amaterasu being the goddess of the sun, she also had the ability to transform into a crow, much in the same way that Zeus would turn into hawks and fly down to humanity. Now, obviously, the connection here is from Amaterasu to Itachi. Itachi not only wields Amaterasu and was the first person to do so, but also ties the majority of his kids to crows. Now, Susanoo is the Japanese god of thunder and storms, and is known most widely within Shinto lore for killing the great white snake Orochi with the sword of Totsuka, which is why you're now understanding where Kishimoto might have gotten the idea of Itachi using his Totsuka blade to stab the white snake version of Orochimaru in the face. Scenes between Itachi and Amaterasu don't end here. These are 3 treasures that are passed down from emperor to emperor, and are specifically kept out of the eye of the public to symbolize the authority that the emperor has over Japan. Now, each of these 3 treasures is meant to represent the 3 core values of the emperor and Japan: valor, wisdom, and benevolence. Now, the history of these 3 imperial regalia is kind of cool, as the treasures were actually brought down to the earth by Nanigi no Mikoto, who was the first ancestor of the Japanese imperial line, and who was sent down to Earth by his grandmother, Amaterasu, to pacify Japan. And thus these treasured regalia are passed from emperor to emperor to symbolize their descendancy from Amaterasu. You'll find the names of these three imperial regalia rather interesting, as they are the Kusanagi no Tsurugi, also known as Kusanagi Blade, Yata no Kagami, also known as the Yata Mirror, and the Yasakani no Magatama, also known as the Magatama Bead. Now, while the sword of Kusanagi isn't tied to a Susanoo and is just wielded by Orochimaru, who is said to be able to cut through anything, the Yata Mirror is absolutely wielded on a Susanoo, specifically by Itachi, who ties a large amount of his inspiration to Amaterasu, and the Yasakani no Magatama is also wielded by Itachi and Madara. And this is an attack when an incomplete Susanoo creates beads of chakra that it throws at an enemy. And all of these things are in the shape of the actual Imperial Regalia jewel. Why only connect Itachi to Amaterasu? Connect Itachi to other incredibly powerful gods. Because Itachi's other MS ability is Tsukiyomi, which is just the name of the Japanese god of the moon. And as an MS wielder, Itachi also has access to things like Izanami and Izanagi, who are kind of the progenitor gods of Shinto ideology, who created all of the other primary gods and Japan. As one day when Izanagi was washing his face in a river, he created 3 new gods. Amaterasu, who was born from his left eye, Tsukiyomi, who was born from his right eye, and Susanoo, who was born from his nose. But enough about Itachi, what about his brother? Obviously, Sasuke wields Amaterasu, and we've already covered that. But Sasuke's other ability, Kagetsuchi, is just named after the Japanese god of fire. While things like Kotomatsukame refer to the era in which all Japanese deities lived together. However, there is one outlier amongst the MS abilities, and that would be Kamui. See, Kamui is not based off of Shinto lore, it's actually based off of Ainu lore. See, here's the thing. Way back in the day in Japan's history, the southern island and the northern island didn't really talk all that much, mostly because traveling was hard. Thus, the ancestral people of Hokkaido didn't pray to Shinto ideology. They prayed to Ainu ideology. And Kamui is a divine figure in Ainu ideology. But the influence of naming things based off gods doesn't end there, as Raijin, and more specifically things like Flying Raijin, are obviously inspired by the Japanese god of lightning, Raijin. However, this isn't the only thing in Naruto that's influenced by Raijin. In actuality, the two stupid brothers, who you may or may not remember, Christopher killing Brad, that break out of secrets, and now these brothers are escaping. And their primary motivation for doing anything is food. Now, these two legendary steel brothers' names are Raijin and Fujin, who are the Japanese gods of lightning and wind. And within Shinto lore, Raijin and Fujin were notorious troublemakers. What kind of humanity couldn't do anything to stop them. Oh, and literally cannot believe I didn't talk about this when I was talking about the tailed beasts. Kurama is obviously based off of the Gyuki. I mean, I guess I said that, but I didn't get into what a Gyuki is. The foxes in Japanese mythology were sometimes referred to as kitsune. Well, that is to say that some foxes were kitsune. And kitsune had the ability to transform. That is, that they would shapeshift, and usually they would shapeshift into the form of a woman. Now, this is why when Naruto sees Kushina for the first time as he's rampaging in his battle against Nagato, that he believes that Kushina is actually just Kurama taking a different shape. This is a reference to the fact that Kurama, as a 9-tailed fox, would be a shapeshifter and would shapeshift into that of a woman. Now, any fox technically has the ability to become a Gyuki, because once a fox hits 100 years old, they gain another tail. So when a fox becomes 8,000 years old, they become a Gyuki. That is to say, a 9-tailed fox. And once these foxes became Gyuki, they gained a massive out, becoming Yoka. And these 9-tailed foxes were feared and revered. Yes, foxes in Japan are actually symbols of good harvest, as Inari, the Shinto god of rice, is actually a fox. So why one of the most famous shrines in all of Japan, the Fushimi Inari Shrine, you know, the one with the thousands of orange gates, has a ton of foxes all around it because it is a shrine built to Inari, the god of rice. But while we're talking about important animals in Naruto, we might as well talk about Garuda, for those of you who don't know, is Sasuke's hawk summoning. And Garuda technically hails from Hindu mythology. Now, Garuda is referred to as the king of all birds, who is also known as the devourer and the enemy of all snakes, which is supposed to be symbolic because after Manta's death in the battle against Deidara, Sasuke uses his hawk summoning much more often than his snake summonings. While at the same time, him beginning to summon Garuda, this victory becomes an enemy of Orochimaru, the great white snake. About hawks, let's talk about gods, but no longer Shinto gods. Shinto gods aren't the only place that Masashi Kishimoto got inspiration. He also takes a ton of content from Hinduism. And in no no spot is that more evident than Indra and Ashura. In Hindu mythology, Indra is a Hindu god who wields thunderbolts, which is why Sasuke Susanoo uses lightning and has the ability Indra's arrow. Now, Indra in Hindu mythology also has a bow, however, his bow is rainbow. Now, interestingly enough, in Hindu mythology, Indra is the good guy and Asura is the bad guy. As Asura is a power-hungry entity bent on destroying the world and the heavens above, and Indra has to defeat this entity through the power of his bow. But obviously, the roles were reversed here because Sasuke wields lightning abilities, so his connection to Indra made way more sense than having Naruto have a connection to Indra. However, Asura is a six-armed, three-faced god, which is why Asura's chakra mode that he uses against Indra Susanoo has 3 faces and 6 arms, and why Naruto's Asura Kurama cloak has 3 faces and 6 arms. But this isn't the only time that Indra and Asura's reincarnations have been symbolically tied to Hinduism, as almost all of the Rinnegan's paths tie their origin back to Hindu mythology. The Asura path is obviously tied back to Asura to mechanically alter your body and gain new limbs or new faces. Deva, which is the Hindu word for God, gave you the ability to control attractive and repulsive forces, giving you god-like power. The Prana-path, which allows you to absorb all of ninjutsu, is based off of ghostly supernatural beings that live in torment for eternity as they try to satiate their insatiable hunger and thirst, which is obviously symbolic of the fact that the Prana-path can absorb all ninjutsu, quenching an insatiable thirst for chakra. And the Prana-path, which gives you the ability to summon the King Path, is based off the Hindu idea of hell. And Naraka, this is kind of a bad explanation, but a short one, is Hinduism's version of hell, where souls go to be cleansed for their sins. Now, ironically, Naraka is where Yama, which is what Monkey King Enma resides. So in actuality, the king of hell is Enma. And on the other side of the coin, that is to say, Hashirama, his 1,000-armed variable Kanon, you know the move where he makes a giant Hindu god with 1,000 wooden arms that was able to slap Susanoo off of Brahma, is based off the Hindu creation of Avalokitesvara, a 1,000-armed, 12-faced god. But Avalokitesvara in Japanese is referred to as Senju. Kanon, as Senju, is 1,000. And there is so much, so many minor details, so many minor characters, basically just ripped from Japanese mythology and thrown into the Naruto universe. Here, we'll go speed round. Supposed to be the myths are based off the Shichini Mizaki, the more group of 7 yokai. Now, these 7 yokai were ghost samurai who will die and both crash out on the ocean, which is why the Shichini Mizaki live here near bodies of water, just like the 7 swordsmen of the mist. And these 7 ghost yokai would show up and try to either possess a host or kill them, and therefore anybody who lived near the water was very afraid of them. The Sound Village 4 is based off a story from 1254, also known as Kokocho Launch, which tells the story of a boy named Kitamura, the Oni boy. Now, Kitamura spends his entire life trying to get revenge for being thrown out of a temple. However, Kitamura, blinded by his own rage and lust for revenge, is eventually killed by an enemy's very accurately placed arrow, which is obviously symbolic of how Neji kills him by sending up his gentle fist through his spider string connected to his arrow. Takusu is based off of Kuchisaki Onna, which, if you're watching JJK, Kuchisaki Onna is usually the cursed spirit that Geto summoned in the battle against Toji, the one with the scissors who asked Toji if she was pretty, as Kuchisaki Onna was a yokai from Japanese mythology who was armed with a sharp pair of scissors. Now, Kuchisaki Onna had straight slicked back hair and a propensity for violence, and she would ask people if they believed that she was pretty after revealing her mutilated, stitched face, as Kuchisaki Onna in English is slit-mouthed woman, which is where Ishima got the character design for Kakuzu, though obviously they have very different abilities. So you get it. Naruto is not an original story. Named after a fish king, Sasuke is named after a dead ninja, Sakura is named after a tree. Nobody can truly steal anything from Naruto because barely anything from Naruto wasn't stolen in the first place. This isn't only a circumstance in Japanese anime. Everybody, everywhere, who's ever written a story that we've enjoyed has been influenced by other outside media. One of the best examples of this is George Lucas with Star Wars. Avid readers and watchers of Star Wars understand that George Lucas is heavily influenced by things like Greek mythology. Darth Maul has been very actively compared to characters like Sisyphus, and therefore, the next time that you see a marked amount of similarity between two separate anime, don't go, this anime stole from this other anime. Get to the core of the issue. Look up the names to the characters that you believe are being copied. Look into the stories that influence the stories that influence you. It's really once you understand these stories and what influenced them to come into being, you can not only understand these stories as they were meant to be understood, but also hypothesize where these stories might end. And to me, at least, that's one of the funnest ways to consume media. What do you guys think? You have a better understanding of what's inspired Naruto into creation as it is today. Do you guys appreciate the universe more, or do you appreciate it less? Tell me in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page. I've used a side of my brain that I haven't used in a while today.
Wow, that's a good one. Let's see if we got any other good videos. I'll open it now. I'm not guessing to the top. I don't know. This works. Explain. It's not really good.
Today I filmed a video about the top 10 strongest works in all of My Hero Academia. And as for that kind of video, I had to do a bit of cursory research on works and how they work and how they come about in the worlds of My Hero Academia. Then I filmed another video about how Paul as a character is broken than he is because of how works work in the My Hero Academia universe. And when I was filming that video, I talked about how the My Hero Academia is incredibly simple and easy to digest. How either you're brilliant or and it's really as easy as that. However, as it's more and more research into works, I began to remember that works are actually a lot more complicated than even I realized. See, while works can be described in a hand-wavy way of saying they're essentially just mutations, their history and the technical way in which they work is usually the history of works is down genetically. There's different categories of works. Some quirks manifest than other quirks, while other quirks only manifest once. What on the surface appears to be an incredibly simple power system, one that doesn't require much in the way of any kind of explanation, as when you have the question, oh, why does he have that ability? The answer is usually because they were born that way. But there's so much information about quirks, I figured I should make a video explaining everything there is to know about so much more than just keep off balance. Why today I'm excited to say, covering all things quirks. To a deep dive, one of the more underestimated power systems in all ninja anime guys. Please remember, like this video, subscribe to the page. Hit that note about it, go hear something more. MHA or just all anime in general, guys. Go ahead and follow my anime podcast, Talk to Nuts, where me and Danny want to break down everything that happened in anime. This week is available on YouTube, Spotify, and podcasts. I know as the abilities. How did they come to be? How did they get their name? That's the future of works. We're going to answer all those questions. But first, let's start this video off. We tend to start these types of videos off and answer the easy questions. And the easiest questions is to quirk. What quirk in the simplest sense is a superhuman ability that any human can be born with. Think about this is that you can only be born with it. You can never develop a quirk. So whatever ability you're born with, that's the ability you're split for the entirety of your life. With obvious exceptions being all for one and one for all. Kind of other things like all for all comics, but whatever you get. So are technically unique to every person born with them. That is to say that every single person has a unique quirk. That being said, quirks can fall into categories, with one of the most prominent categories being elemental releases like fire or ice quirks. And while technically every single fire or ice user in these specific categories has a unique quirk, a lot of their quirks do work in indiscernibly similar ways. Pretty much the only variance in fire uses is how hot their fire is or the output of fire that they can use. But still, technically unique to them. It's kind of crazy when you consider the fact that 80% of the human population all have quirks. But it wasn't always that way. Quirks had to come from somewhere. So let's somewhat briefly go over the history of quirks, or as I should say, the history of abilities. Because the name quirk didn't come around until pretty deep into the history of quirks. When quirks first came about, they were known as meta-abilities. And the first ever meta-ability was manifested in a baby, China. Now, this baby is kind of a unique circumstance. It's more reasons than just the fact that it was the first ever baby born with a quirk. Since baby was born with the ability to radiate light from its body, this baby was born radiating light, which is actually rare. Most people don't manifest their quirk the second that they're born. So for both the fact that this baby was the first ever being born with a quirk and the fact that it was born manifesting its quirk, the baby was doubly rare. However, this baby was born, oddly enough, people began manifesting quirks all across the world, which led people to theorize about where these quirks are coming from in the first place. And genuinely, people still don't know where these meta-abilities / quirks came from. Because here's the thing, it's never explicitly stated that this glowing baby grows up to be an adult that has children that then manifest the second set of quirks on Earth. It's more loosely stated that once this glowing baby showed up, a bunch of people around the world also started manifesting meta-abilities. Which leads people to a couple of different theories revolving around where meta-abilities came from. Some people believe that meta-abilities came from a virus transmitted by mice. Other people believe that meta-abilities is just the natural way in which humans are evolving. And unfortunately, in the MHA universe, there's no hard evidence to support either claim. Well, obviously, the idea of co-evolution on different parts of the globe is not a crazy thought. In fact, it's happened thousands of times throughout history, with animals that are thousands of miles away from each other, being in similar circumstances, involving the same traits in order to adapt to said circumstances. The possibility of a worldwide virus previously unknown to humanity transmitting into a bunch of people simultaneously to make them manifest meta-abilities also isn't a crazy theory. However, we need to out now, and the quirks can very clearly be passed down through genetics. At least to me, the idea that quirks are the natural evolution of the human race within the My Hero Academia universe makes more sense. However, regardless of where quirks came from, it's had a pretty universal effect on how human was. The problem with quirks is that it gave a lot of people who shouldn't have quirks. And thus, everything was done being like, oh, shiny babe. Therein lies that the serial killer down the street now has gun arms, which led to a period of incredibly high crime as supervillains popped out of the woodwork. And even though the early days of meta-ability manifestation, the minority became much stronger than the majority, and thus those without quirks quickly became second-class citizens. However, the ordinary citizens didn't stand for this for very long. In fact, these ordinary citizens who were being bullied by the more powerful minority took matters into their own hands, and thus in order to bring order to the current society, these ordinary citizens became vigilantes, which brought about the Vigilantes era. Now, the Vigilantes era is depicted in the Vigilantes manga, which is a spin-off prequel from the MHA manga, and therefore the first ever heroes in the My Hero Academia universe were vigilantes. The idea of vigilantes quickly became outdated, as avenues to become real official heroes quickly opened up to the public. But we're not quite there yet. See, during these vigilantes era is when All for One actually began to get his hooks in society. Sorry, I lied earlier when I said the Vigilantes spin-off manga takes place during the Vigilantes era. That's not true. The Vigilantes manga takes place like 4 to 5 years prior to Deku leading All Might. So they're like Vigilantes non-approved heroes in the modern day world. Obviously, they were inspired by the Vigilantes from the Vigilante era, which have now become outdated and unnecessary because the system I'm good. Become a hero. Got it? Go back to in this Vigilantes era, which took place over 100 years ago, I believe, somewhere around 100 years ago, All for One was gaining a ton of positive press. This because All for One, this meta ability, All for One was able to soothe a large amount of society through the usage of his own power. See, anybody who didn't want their quirk could go up to All for One and have their quirk taken away from them by All for One. And on the opposite end, anybody who wanted a quirk could be given a quirk by All for One, meaning that All for One and his meta ability granted everybody around him a way to live their life the way they wanted to live it. And genuinely, if that's where things stops, that would have been great. It kind of would have been like Planned Parenthood. If you want the kid, we can help you get it. If you don't want the kid, we can help you not get it. However, All for One didn't stop there. Well, he was gaining a ton of positive press as the guy when society returned back to normal. In actuality, anybody he gave to immediately became his follower and had to do basically whatever he wanted. That's built into every quirk that All for One gives somebody is a clause that if you try to reject him, you die. And thus, slowly but surely, not only did All for One build and very powerful, so an army, and things went on this way for a while, until All for One decided that his seemingly quirkless brother needed a quirk really badly, and therefore he gave him a quirk that allowed him to stockpile power. That is, however, little did he know that his brother actually already had it. However, his brother's technically doesn't have a power outside of the fact that it can be passed down to other people. So now his brother had two quirks, the ability to stockpile power and the ability to pass that down. And thus, after this, a man by the name of Chikara Yotsubashi was born. Now, Chikara Yotsubashi is one of the most famous villains in the entirety of MX's universe. Chikara is the original Destro, not pre-Destro, the original Destro. That is to say that Chikara is the founder of the Meta Liberation Army, and also an ancestor of Riki Yotsubashi, also known as Destro, who later revived the Meta Liberation Army that his ancestor Chikara created. Now, the Meta Liberation Army are kind of like libertarians, except instead of child wives and guns, they have quirks in their ideologies that the free usage of quirks is a basic human right, and that you should be able to use your quirk in any capacity, any time, emphasizing liberation over regulation, as doing things like using your quirk in public spaces is actually illegal. That there's like a million people who can break it, which kind of is actually more than just Destro. Kind of was growing up, believed for his work, but his mother very publicly supported him and stated that his meta ability is just from his. Didn't love this. In fact, they murdered her for reasons like if you ask me. Decades after her murder, became pretty much the official name for meta abilities, and she was later posthumously referred to as the mother. I know I'm good. That is to say that she was the person who changed them from being meta abilities to quirks. Just because we had a new spiffy name quirks doesn't mean that society had ironed out what to do with them. See, we currently had some villains running around using their newfound powers to do all kinds of bad stuff. We had regular people with weapons trying to battle against these supervillains called vigilantes. And somewhere in the middle,
Am I doing my father proud?
regular police
Checking my stats, huh?
between whether or not they should be hiring people with quirks to battle against the other people with quirks, or just stick to their quite literal guns. The police force came to the realization that their job was to prioritize leadership and maintaining the status quo of the country, and thus the police force as a whole decided to not use their quirks to battle against those with quirks, deducing that massive quirk-based battles between the police and supervillains would lead to more death and destruction than if the police didn't have quirks, or at the very least didn't use their quirks. Because police decided to stick to being police and not superheroes to fill the void of guns ain't gonna fix this problem, a new profession popped up across the world, and that is crime-fighting heroes that later became known as pro heroes. This actually originated in the USA. Yes, the birthplace of pro heroes in the entirety of the My Hero Academia universe was in Japan, as you would assume would respond to that. No, it was America, and not just anywhere in America. For some reason, Rhode Island. Yes. Pine-ridden Rhode Island, the 10-mile-wide sliver of Sleepy Beach's deadness, the state that even New England forgets about. However, with the existence of heroes of the place, vigilantes began to disappear. There's now really no need to be a vigilante, as crime is being popped up by pro heroes and police. And vigilantes who wielded quirks in battles against supervillains could just go into the pro hero system and become pro heroes. And considering the fact that pro heroes have the authority to use their quirks in public and basically destroy anything around them, if it comes down to it, it was physically easier and less dangerous for vigilantes to become pro heroes. Vigilantes, as they're not approved by the law to operate the means in which they're operating, the battle against supervillains, and then speed the scene. But at the beginning of pro hero history, the idea to allow human beings to use their quirks in some battles against supervillains was widely frowned upon. To the conclusion that a lot of police forces being used in massive quirk-based battles lead to tons of destruction and death. People in New York and every part. For as time went on and more extraordinary pro heroes popped up, crime rates plummeted and their approval rates skyrocketed. As quirks became more abundant in society, their usage also skyrocketed. Or people might have used to drive to work. If they have flame abilities, they could now fly to work. Thus, they light their hands and their feet on fire and get to fly. And in tons of other circumstances, quirks are being used publicly to make life more convenient. A bunch of untrained people begin to use incredibly dangerous quirks on a daily basis around a bunch of other untrained people. Problems begin to arise. People died. Thus, world governments began to crack down on the usage of quirks, which is where things like the Meta Liberation Army came into play. They ramped against these restrictions, saying that it's their basic human right to use these quirks whenever and on whatever that they want. And they struggled against the world governments for a couple of decades until they went out. These regulations came at a good time because roughly 80% of the human population was quirks. In a world where 80% of people have quirks, you need a couple of 7% is only getting higher. It's stated that Decker might actually be the hero's last chance to battle against All for One, as One for All can be used at its highest level of potential unless the inheritor is quirkless, and in the next couple of generations, there be the one who's quirkless, the passed down one will to. So now that we know the history of quirks and where they came from, let's switch to elaborating on quirks all. See, because, like I said, we can explain it in a wavy way of saying that there's superhuman abilities that some humans are born with. There's actually a lot more intricacy to them than just that. See, earlier when I stated that I believe that quirks are the next step in human evolution, as opposed to being a virus passed through humanity by mice, I think the best point to corroborate that possibility is the fact that in order to check for whether or not people have quirks, doctors will check to see in children if they have an additional joint in their pinky toe. See, the majority of human beings have 2 joints in their pinky toes, as every other toe in your foot has 2 joints. However, as your pinky toe is substantially smaller than all of your other toes, the second joint, your pinky toe is kind of useless. If you grab your pinky toe and you try to bend this final joint, you might be able to wiggle it a little bit, but the majority of the movement that one can achieve from their pinky toe comes from this second joint. And even at the same time, if you have some amount of dexterity in this final joint of your pinky toe, it really doesn't add that much to your movement ability. I'm sorry, I lied, your pinky toe only has 1 joint. Comment about it. Therefore, doctors are able to deduce if a child is going to manifest a quirk if they only have 1 joint in their pinky toe, because having just 1 joint in their pinky toe shows that they've streamlined their evolution. That is to say, in less roundabout terms, that those with 1 joint in their pinky toe are more evolved. And since their pinky toes show a higher level of evolution than a standard human, they should also manifest a quirk. And since we're tying a streamlining of evolution into whether or not somebody will manifest a quirk, it feels pretty blatant that we're saying that quirks are evolution and not just the virus. Now, the reason that doctors have a test to see if somebody will manifest a quirk is because a lot of people aren't born with their quirk manifesting immediately. While people like the glowing baby and present Mike were born with their abilities manifesting immediately, most children are stated to manifest their quirks before they turn 4 years old. But some people do manifest their quirks after they turn 4. So why people like that who are able to lie about manifesting one for all at 14-ish. While late bloomers of this level are incredibly rare, it does happen sometimes. When in actuality, most late bloomers just manifest their quirks at like 5 or 6, which is kind of unfortunate because quirks don't manifest gradually over time. It's just one day you don't have quirks and the next day you do, which I can imagine is especially horrific for heteromorphs. Because here's the thing, we don't know whether or not heteromorphs are born like that or they just wake up one day and look like that. Now, heteromorphs, those of you who don't know, are people whose quirks make their appearance look different. So think Tokuyami or Annie Voice. Well, it stands to reason that most heteromorphs are born heteromorphs. We have no confirmation of whether or not they are. So there's a possibility that some heteromorphs are born looking like standard children and then they turn 4 and they just turn into Windex Man. But the whole being born as heteromorph thing is probably the more likely conclusion. Though heteromorph or not, it is unfortunate that quirks manifest immediately. For people like Shigaraki, whose quirk is that anything they touch with all 5 fingers turns into ash. Because one day you're a regular child and the next day your entire family and your home is gone. In a less severe circumstance of this, Kirishima manifested his quirk in the middle of the night when he needed to go to the bathroom. When he went to rub one of his eyes, he just sliced his piece. I'm crazy about quirks is that some quirks are just common, which is weird when you consider the fact that quirks might be genetic. Like, if we're assuming that quirks are just the standard next step in human evolution, it would stand to reason that different types of quirk would manifest at similar rates. Is there's genuinely no reason for somebody to manifest a fire quirk over something like Dark Shadow. And yet, while there's hundreds, if not thousands, if not possibly millions of people who use fire-based quirks, there's only a couple of people who have the ability to do things like spatial warping, or regeneration, or Dark Shadow. What's even weirder than this is that some people's quirks give them one ability and one ability alone. Seryu's quirk ability allows him to shoot tape out of his elbows. Bakugo's ability allows him to make nitroglycerine from his palms. But other people's quirk abilities grant them the ability to do multiple things. And I'm not even talking about Shoto, whose quirk is half cold, half hot. Because one could argue that his quirk just gives him the ability to use ice and fire. I'm talking about people whose quirks give them the ability to do multiple, very separate things. A good example of this are people whose quirks are just animals, like Suyu or Gang Orca. Gang Orca's quirk, Orcanus, grants him superhuman physiology, speed, and strength because he has the body of an orca who gang up on great white sharks. But on top of this, he can also make hypersonic waves with his brain that allow him to read his surroundings. He can swim at incredibly high speeds. He can breathe underwater. He can do basically anything an orca can do. And in the case of Suyu, it's no different. She can bound incredibly long distances. She can stick to walls. She has a long, sticky tongue. Multiple quirk factors that all tie into frog or orca, but all do very different things. And it's not even just limited to people whose quirk is animal. As Kaina Satsumi's quirk gives her 2 separate abilities that have nothing to do with animals. As Kaina is not only able to make a rifle with her elbow, but also turn her hair into any different kind of bullet. 2 incredibly separate abilities that have nothing to do with each other, outside of the fact that she's created creating a rifle and creating something to shoot out of said rifle. But if you were to extrapolate a quirk like that and put it on somebody like Bakugo, that would be like if Bakugo could not only create nitroglycerin from his hands, but also create the gauntlets that he wears to fire off said nitroglycerin. You see what I'm saying? There's variability into the amount of quirk factors that your quirk has. But quirks can also be sentient, as people like Tokiyami's quirk manifest the thing known as Dark Shadow, which is a completely sentient being that lives within him. And it's not like it's a manifestation of his will or anything like that. No, it's a completely sentient, separate being that lives inside of him that sometimes disobeys him. And he's not the only circumstance of this. Body Soul, the third MHA movie, has a quirk that gives him a little bird that follows him around that acts on whatever his true will wants. Now, while talking about this tiny bird named Pino in the same capacity as Tokiyami's Dark Shadow is probably kind of stretch, they are still two sentient quirks, which is super weird when you think about it. Because in actuality, Dark Shadow could kill Tokiyami. However, your quirk having the capacity to kill you isn't something that's particularly rare. In fact, most quirks have drawbacks. The most obvious drawbacks are things like Aizawa's Dry Eye from using his erasure quirk, Death's body not being able to manifest the entirety of One For All and therefore shattering every time he throws a 100% punch, Endeavor's overheating by using too much of his fire, Shoto's frostbite from using too much of his ice. Pretty much every single quirk has drawbacks. However, interestingly enough, alongside with your quirk usually manifests a resistance to said quirk. But this isn't always the case, and a good example of that is Dabi. See, Dabi's fire burns the hottest out of anybody in the entirety of MHA, even hotter than Endeavor, the now #1 hero on Earth. However, because his fire burns so hot, and because his body isn't built to have a fire quirk, but instead an ice quirk, every time that Dabi uses his flames, he burns his skin. But there are less severe cases than Dabi. Ayama, also known as Naval Laser, was born with a naval laser. However, without the usage of the belt given to him by All For One, Ayama's naval laser would just leak out of his stomach. And in that capacity, he's very similar to Cyclops, where he needs a piece of equipment to relegate the lasers coming out of his body. However, he kind of has the opposite problem from Cyclops, in that the lasers don't work until the belt goes on. However, maybe the wildest things about quirks, period, is the fact that whatever quirk you get can actually influence who you are as a person. And I'm not just talking about Tokiyami being afraid of the dark because Dark Shadow might break out in the dark. No, I'm saying there are real-life psychological implications to having certain quirks. A good example of this is Twice, whose quirk gave him crippling bipolar disorder and multi-personality disorder, and Twice's closest friends on the entire Earth. Toga is also affected by this. Pretty much the entirety of the conversation around Toga is everybody telling Toga to be normal. However, Toga never had the option to be normal. This is why she's actually a really cool character. Toga is...
Come on, let's fix the man.
See, Toga's quirk that requires her to drink somebody's blood to transform into them will require her brain into enjoying blood into core and conflating blood into core, loving somebody. And thus, when Toga began to inspire somebody, she not only wanted to become them, but also to drink their blood to become them. And thus, the wires between transformation and blood which led Toga to be unable to live with many deemed as a regular life. However, it's led to believe that these wires getting crossed by factor of Toga is only used for
searching
at
for
least
this.
genetically or psychologically or biologically. See, in order for Toga to be able to drink the blood of somebody else and turn into them, Toga had to not froze down by blood, and B had to have no conscience when it came to drinking somebody else's blood and becoming. And thus the possibility for Toga's mind to make sure that it can use its quirk at the highest level possible, that psychologically it rewired itself to make sure that Toga would blend the quirk as well as possible, which I also feel like corroborates the point that quirks are biological and come from evolution. But humans aren't the only people that can manifest quirks, which kind of throws a wrench in not only the virus theory, but also the evolution theory. Because by and large, viruses usually only affect a couple of different types of animals, while humans have definitely co-evolved with other animals. There's such a large disparity in the kinds of animals we've seen use quirks and humans in the MHA universe. See, the principle of UA High, also known as Nezu, is an animal. What kind of animal? We're not entirely sure. People think that he's a combination of a dog, a cat, and a bear. But Nezu isn't a human. It never was a human. It's not a gang orca or Suyu situation. It's not a heteromorph. He's an animal that manifested a quirk that makes him smarter than your average human, which is why he's able to use his incredible intellect to lead UA High. But Nezu isn't the only animal that manifested a quirk. There's also the monster cat and the queen bee, which means throughout the history of MHA, there's been 3 separate animals that have manifested quirks. It's one of them is a dog, cat, bear, the other is a cat, and the other is a bee. It's a really large disparity between different types of animals manifesting quirks. But then again, COVID started in bats, and then with pangolins, and then with humans, so who knows? But speaking of things that aren't fun, let's move on to all the ways that quirks can really mess you up. See, most people, and that is as 99.999% of people have one quirk. And one quirk works inside the body. And this is most likely because humans have a will to manifest one quirk in one quirk love. However, you can technically have more than one quirk. Though in order for this to happen, you either have to have one for all, and to be Deku close enough to all one that he bestows multiple quirks upon you, or have overhaul. Just talking of a different circumstance. But you don't want two quirks. Having two quirks actually puts an insane amount of strain on your body. It's the quirks you add into your body, the more strain you put onto it, and the less cognitive thought you're able to do on. That is to say that every single quirk that you add to your body, the dumber you get. And not only will you get dumber, but your body will also begin to deteriorate. This is exemplified in One For All users who had it work to getting One For All. Well, none of them have their intelligence take a dip. All of their bodies begin to deteriorate. As the pressure of holding two quirks, one of which is One For All in one vessel, is too much for anybody's body to cope with. And those members of One For All who had quirks prior to getting One For All really a lifespan. With the fourth inheritor of One For All, Sage being the person who lived two quirks the longest, but he was only able to maintain having those two separate quirks for 18 years until he died of old age.
I know I'm good.
Stands the only people who were able to maintain having multiple quirks in their body and function at a somewhat high level, Yantamakia All For One and Deku. However, other people have been able to undergo massive physical modifications to make sure that their bodies are able to maintain multiple quirks. People like number 6 from Vigilantes, 9 from Heroes Rising, and Shigaraki have all undergone massive body modifications to make sure that they can maintain the multiple quirks given to them by All For One. On top of this, some of them either received or tried to receive quirks that would be able to negate the ill effect of the like 9 attempting to claim cell amplification to cure the cells that were degenerating in his body from having multiple quirks. But people like Gigantomachia are able to hold on to multiple quirks simultaneously because of Gigantamachia's base quirk, endurance, which made his body incredibly durable and basically impossible to put down. And the reason that Tundra is able to hold quirks right now is because of his regeneration quirk. All For One now isn't the only person who's able to pass out quirks, and Rocky now also has the ability to duplicate and to pass out quirks to other people, also gaining the ability to extract quirks from people's bodies. Dr. Rocky was able to pull this off by studying All For One's
We're counting on you.
the power of science, pretty much replicated the same way that most people, at least nowadays, get their quirks is from their parents. The real reason these quirks are genetic and therefore subject to evolution is because they can be passed down from parent to child through Mendelian genetics. Mendel is kind of different from genetics, and ironically was a friar and an abbot, whose research ironically paved the road for confirmations of theories like evolution. But in essence, Gregor Mendel took a bunch of peas and bred them together, but he bred a bunch of different kinds of peas.
I know I'm good.
Is that different kinds of peas when bred together will either manifest as the mother pea or the father pea, or as a combination of the two different kinds of pea. And then even if, hypothetically, let's say you take 2 pairs of peas and they truly only manifest as the mother pea, that child even manifested as the mother pea could manifest father pea traits in its children. And this is how quirks work in the My Hero Academia universe. But because quirks are inherited genetically, families tend to have very similar quirks. A great example of this is the Todoroki family. They all either have fire or ice quirks. But the reason that Endeavor wanted to bring more children is because he wanted a combination of the two quirks. Another good example of this is the Ida brothers. Tensei has engines in his arms, but Ida has engines in his legs. But it doesn't always work out this way. Sometimes tall children can be born from short parents. But I'm moving on. And therefore completely unique and unheard of quirks can manifest in children from parents with quirks that aren't even remotely related to the quirks that their children inherited. Tobara Shigaraki's grandmother's quirk was float, but he got decay. And these quirks manifest as mutations, matching how children don't always have to match the parents they come from. Even often than this, it's a possibility that 2 people with quirks can have a quirkless child, like Minori. But regardless of what quirk you're born with, that's the quirk you're stuck with. But it doesn't mean that your quirk has to stay at the same level of strength for the entire time that you have it. See, because while most people manifest their quirk before they're 4 years old, that doesn't mean their quirk is done changing. As people later on in their life can go through emotional catalysts that allow them to awaken their quirk. Many people in My Hero Academia's universe have gone through these awakenings. Koka's awakening allowed her to realize that if she transformed into somebody she loved enough, she would be able to use their quirk. Bakugo realized after being stabbed by all the one's rivet stab, then you would be able to condense and use his explosions or purely. Getten gained the ability to control the temperature of his ice when Redestro burned himself. Uchaku gained the ability to spread her zero-gravity quirk amongst people that she's not even touching. After a battle against Toga, the quirk that you're born with and the abilities that come along with it aren't the only abilities you'll have for your entire life. You just gotta go through some trauma. However, much in the way that quirks can be awoken, quirks can also be suppressed. Satoru Shigaraki's quirk, Decay, was actually suppressed because of the trauma he went through as a child. See, in the moment of Tomoda's quirk activation, he had the ability to spread his decay across the ground and swallow up entire houses. And he also had the ability to make sure that his decay was able to spread from things that he was doing. That were standing on things was decaying. However, because of how traumatic that experience was for him, he suppressed that ability. Meaning that the large majority of the time that we spend with Shigaraki, his decay ability isn't nearly as strong as it should be. However, battling against Gigantomachia and Redestro, he awakens his decay ability, which is why he's now able to wipe out entire cities by placing his hands on the ground. And if that sounds scary, wait until I tell you about the concept of quirk singularity. See, quirk singularity is a popular theory within the My Hero Academia universe that states as generation after generation gets more and more quirks, and those people with quirks come together and strengthen their quirks and breed with each other, that every new generation of quirk users will only get access to more and more quirks. And Shoto is actually a really good example of this happening in Rin's. As Shoto, through the power of half cold, half hot, is able to manifest his mother and his father's abilities, and therefore overcome both of them in terms of strength. Nami, also known as Toya, is also a really good example of this, as Nami is the son of Endeavor, and while his constitution is weaker than that of Endeavor's, his flames burn hotter. And it's believed that eventually quirks become so strong that there will be no way to control them, as every individual will wield power capable of mass destruction, which is why things like quirk restriction laws were put in place early on. And there's actually a lot of restriction laws. Public display of quirks is actually against the law, and you're not allowed to use your quirks to harm other people except in cases of self-defense. You have to have your quirk registered with the government. During elementary school, children receive counseling because they're used to the concept of their quirks and how to appropriately use them in society and to grow with them. However, quirk counseling is also meant to catch people whose quirks might make them more deviant, like Toga. To become a hero, you have to go to a special education program. You have to get a provisional hero license and then get approved by the Department of Heroes before you can become a hero, and so on and so forth. There are a ton of rules when it comes to quirks, which there probably should be, because people are able to make mountains out of ice and burn down entire cities. But those are just emitters. Yes, that's right, there are different types of quirks. We've actually already touched on this point kind of briefly earlier, but let's quickly go over the last point in the video, the types of quirks. So let's talk about emitters. Emitters is probably the most frequent type of quirk we see throughout the entirety of MHA. Emitters have the ability to either generate something and manipulate it, or manipulate existing things around them. Think Bakugo, Shoto, Kaminari. These are three examples of people who are able to generate things and then control them. However, another good example of an emitter is the guy who was able to control the paint lines on the roads, whose name I'm forgetting because his power was the ability to control the paint lines on the roads. He isn't able to generate paint lines on the roads, but he can control the paint lines on the roads, and thus he's still an emitter. But a mission in MHA actually goes further into the conceptual work, because things like brainwashing work, which is used by Hitoshi Shinzo, is also considered an admission type work, as he's admitting a question that you answer that allows him to control your brain. Second type is transformation. These are works that allow people to undergo transformations to their bodies, so that be doing things like enhancing existing features, adding new features, deleting features. A good example of this is Kirishima in his third new work. He's able to transform his body into an incredibly hard and sharp substance. Setsuna Tokage is able to break her body into hundreds of little bits. Shinji, also known as Nuclear Arms, is able to grow a bunch of arms that have eyeballs or hands or ears at the end of them. All of these are examples of transformation quirks. The third type of quirk is heteromorphic. Now, Shinji is also technically a heteromorph. Oh, I'm an idiot. His name is Shoji. Been talking a lot about Neon Genesis recently. Well, I guess Shoji technically falls closer to the heteromorphic side of things here, as heteromorphs are described as people whose quirks give them permanent abnormality related to their quirk, and Shoji constantly has many arms. Good examples of these heteromorphic abilities are Shoji's Duple Arms, Ojito's Tail Quirk, Spinner's Lizard Quirk, and Annie Voice's Rocky Head. I don't know what it has to do with his quirk, but he's considered a heteromorph. Now, being a heteromorph is kind of nice and also kind of not, because heteromorphs are immune to quirk-disabling abilities like Aizawa's erasure, because it's just who they are. It's literally in their physical biology. So that's nice, but there's also the racism, because heteromorphs are viewed as second-class citizens. They're called mutants, and there's clans, like the Creature Rejection Clan that tries to kill heteromorphs, which is why people like Spinner join up with the League of Villains, because they want to destroy the society that suppressed heteromorphs for their interior lives. And thus heteromorphs like Shoji had to lead from the front to be like, hey, listen, they're not all bad. Non-heteromorphs, I mean. Non-heteromorphs are not all bad. You get it. We're moving on. The last important is the accumulation. Now this is by far and away the rarest of all quirk types. These are quirks that require some preparation. That is to say that these are quirks that don't operate correctly unless something has been done beforehand. A good example of these quirks are things like Ares Rewinds. By Ares Rewinds might seem as though it's incredibly powerful. As long as she gets her hands on you, she's able to rewind you. The left foot which Ares can use for rewind quirk is actually tied to the leg of the horn on her form. And the more that she uses her rewind quirk, the stronger the gets. Therefore, if Ares wants to use rewind at the highest level possible, she needs a long form. Another good example of this is Fat Gum's Fat Absorption, as Fat Gum is able to take basically any amount of physical damage so long as he has a layer of fat on. Another really good example of this is Fa Jin, which requires the Taguans, the second inheritor of One for All, do a motion repeatedly in order to build up kinetic energy in that part of their body so that they can use it explosively later on. And that's it. Everything that you need to know about quirks, which is probably a lot more than you thought you need to know about quirks in the first place. About quirks that even I didn't know, because for a long time I believed that quirks were an overly simplified power set.
It's just X-Men but weirder, pretty much.
Let's do this. Hit him hard, hit him fast. I know I'm good.
Hey. Get you down, baby girl, around town and I choose you, baby. Huh? Now, I apologize if this message gets you down, then I'd CC baby girl, then I'd CC around town and witness around truth. Well, I'm no island, peninsula maybe. That makes no sense, I'm not crazy. Spaceships don't come equipped with Vera Ramirez, they dip. The atmosphere is now ripped. I'm sort of like a pip. I'm glad it's night. Light from the sun will not burn me on my bum. I choose you, baby.
You're good as dead. Come on, let's kick some ass. Oh. Attack them from that right! Yeah, let's kick some tail!
Excellent.
I am Emma Honeywell.
Consider well the strength of the entire party.
I'll follow whatever orders you give me. Impressive, huh?
Now, I apologize if this messes get you down and I CC'd every girl that I CC around town and
Checking my stats, huh? What are you looking at? Observe my stats carefully before making a choice.
whew. Okay. Yes, sir, and then that's my last anthem, baby. Actually, this might be good stopping point. I'm gonna go ahead and hang it up here, guys. Thanks for tuning in.